John was working in his science lab, got blasted by gamma rays. Now he's Smash Trivia John, always smashing. He's friends with Ruffalo, in love with Aslan, and also some arrow weaving. John's here saying, hello my gamma friends, welcome to the show, the Gamma Analysis Podcast.
And hold. Smash.
Hello, my Gamma friends. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Smash Trivia John. You can find me on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram by searching Smash Trivia. I'll be the one with the old green head in the profile picture. This is the Gamma Analysis. Basically, I'm going to review everything Hulk, all the movies, TV shows, and also do random other geeky films. Hope you enjoy. Smash Trivia presents the Gamma Analysis. I want to ask everyone listening to please do something for me. Please share the hell out of this podcast with all your friends. If you don't, Hulk will be angry. Now let's smash right into this episode. Today's episode is a review of the Crank movies with my friends Brayden and Kira. How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay.
I think you're muted.
Yeah, I had a bit of a day, but I'm all right.
Oh.
I muted so that my crinkling wouldn't interrupt your beautiful intro.
I really liked these movies, which probably is not surprising based on like what you guys know about me.
Yeah. I enjoyed it a lot in a sense of like, it's a movie about an objectively bad person doing bad things a lot of the time, and at least morally questionable things. But the premise gives you it's interesting because the premise you could do that to any like normal non-assassin guy and have him have to do crazy things. It's more interesting to me that he's already a guy who's like morally bankrupt in many ways and is a hired killer. But he's and like, yeah, he has anger issues and impulsivity, but it seems like he copes by like kind of like focusing all of that into like trying to be like a stealthy assassin, you know what I mean? Like that's his almost like his hyperfixation, it seems like, of like. And so it's interesting because a lot of characters who are killers like that, who don't really seem to feel a lot of like it doesn't seem like he's a sociopath in the sense that you would expect. And I'm not saying that like obviously like in real life sociopaths are like very misrepresented, and so it's like that's not actually like they're not evil people. But even in the media tropes and like the way media portrays stuff, usually they'll lean into the idea of like, oh, if he can't feel anything, he's automatically a monster, which is like not true, but it is the media trope, right? That doesn't even seem to be happening in this movie. Like I kind of expected it to be. I didn't think he would care about things at all, I guess. You know what I mean? But he does, and I think that makes it better.
Oh yeah. We were talking about as we were watching it how he feels so much like Trevor from GTA, and like it's and what's really funny about that is like I had literally been watching earlier that day a whole bunch of lore videos about Trevor, and I was like as I was watching, I'm like oh yeah, this is so much it's like wow.
Isn't it Trevor's?
What did you say?
Is it Trevor's quest line where you can get involved with a cult and then kidnap random hitchhikers and bring them up to the cult and human traffic?
That's definitely one of the things.
Like Trevor's literally a human trafficker in the game.
Oh yeah, so like Trevor, he will do anything for the job. But just like this character or that Jason Statham is playing, he doesn't actually like killing people.
Yeah, it's like he takes pride in his work when it's like a job well done, but it's not like he's sadistically enjoying causing harm necessarily. There are some moments where he like is a bit like he enjoys like getting back at people, you know what I mean? But there's a difference between like getting back at people who piss you off vindictively and going out of your way to just hurt everyone around you at random. Where he actually like there are some times where he if people annoy him or like get in his way, he doesn't seem too torn up if they get hurt or killed, but he also doesn't go out of his way to hurt random people just cuz it's only if you're like annoying or in his way in some way. Like the guy he like runs over with his car in like the beginning in the parking lot. The implication is that's someone he knows in the building that he lives with that he fucking hates. And he's like, I don't have time for you today, and
Yeah.
you're in my way. And so he's not super, torn up about that. But at the same time, we visibly see that he actually really doesn't. He really doesn't seem to like the idea
Mhm.
of shooting anybody in the hospital. He really is uncomfortable in the
Oh
hospital.
yeah.
It seems, and that's when he seems the most like upset with himself of like, am I really holding a gun towards this nurse? Like that's the point where he's
Hmm.
like probably the most of like what. And it's one thing where it's not just like the morality of it. It's like I'm not getting paid for this. This isn't a job. This isn't like graceful or full of finesse. I'm I'm just causing chaos and mayhem to these people who have not done anything to me, have not done anything to anyone but help, and who I've not been
Hmm.
hired to kill. It's true.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
like
I
I feel like
think.
that. I feel like when he's been hired to kill someone, he compartmentalizes it in his mind more, to where he's like, "Well, it's not my problem." You know what I mean? I'm
Mhm.
not the one doing it. I'm being hired. I'm the weapon. But when he's not being hired, he is just like in his mind. He's like, "Well, that is just me killing someone." But
Yeah.
I feel like you're able to like have that not be exactly the same if you're a hired gun. But then if you're a hired gun who just randomly has to kill some people, some pedestrians, you're like, it might not feel, you might not be torn up with guilt, but you might be like, that didn't really feel good. That's not what
Yeah.
I like to do.
Oh yeah.
That's not what excites me. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Like the one thing though that I do think is different between this character and Trevor is so according to all the lore videos that I've watched about Trevor Trevor hates racist people a lot, and
Yes.
versus this character in this is like willing to be racist is for him to be able to get his heart rate to go up.
It's really
I think Trevor
interesting.
would be very pissed is to be compared to someone like that.
Yeah, like like again, each of these characters has their own specific moral code, it seems
Yeah.
like, and like Trevor has his own moral code of like, for all the things he's willing to do, he's like, again, Trevor's kind who's like, oh, I'm doing stuff, for money, for the job. We're all desperate, trying to get by in this world. So there's a difference between doing stuff out of desperation, which is interesting because this movie is entirely, framing stuff out of desperation, basically. There's a difference between doing stuff out of desperation and doing stuff just because, just out of malice, just because you
Yeah.
hate someone and want to hurt them. Those are two different things that Trevor doesn't seem. Trevor, like when the second one, unless he feels it's justified, like if it's a justified hate because someone
Hmm.
fucked you over, that's not the same. You know what I mean? A vendetta is not the same as racism. Basically, for both of these characters, I think, because
Hmm.
yeah, he like does a bunch of racist shit, but it's so interesting in a way because especially in the first, it's like over time it comes more naturally the more he does it. Because in the first movie, in the beginning, it gives a vibe of like it's not coming naturally to him. He's having to
Yeah.
put in extra effort to think of how to do that.
Hmm.
And but like in the second movie, I think it was coming more naturally in a way, not like just because he broke the ice in the first movie. Like he broke his own racism ice and it just got easier to say stuff because of how ridiculous his life is, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like I'm not saying he's not racist, you know what I mean? Because as a white
Hmm.
man, well, for one thing, everyone's like in a racist society. And then in the movies, he does seem to have like some he knows these stereotypes in his head, you know what I mean? But it seems like in day-to-day life he's not really operating them or like using them against
Yeah.
people. But then this comes up and he's like, now I have to harvest every racial racist stereotype I can think of that I've ever heard of. And that is crazy to watch in a movie.
Oh yeah.
That is and like it's one of those things where like it's offensive, but obviously the movie is also not telling you that it's a good thing. Like the
Yeah.
thing about these movies is nothing, and nowhere is he telling you, or the movie's telling you this is actually super awesome. Like
Hmm.
but at the same time, like they are like they're glorifying certain things, but then they turn around and don't and like have the reality check of like that was actually fucking ridiculous and gross. Like they'll have the scenes where they have like they're having sex in public, you know what I mean? And everyone's like, yeah, and like that's funny, you know what I mean? And like and like it's like everyone cheering that, like, and that's funny and that's like a heightened comedic moment. But then they turn around immediately and are like, that was actually fucked up.
Hmm.
People who weren't there are like, that was fucked up. And so it's an interesting thing where like there is still this running current in the movie of the normal person's perspective in the background, constantly of being like, this guy's a fucking awful. What's happening? This is all awful. This is all terrible. What's going on? Like that's what the newscasters are doing. They're all like, what the fuck is happening? But and so like there are characters that do feel like they're grounded in reality the way that the audience is, but he is so far gone from that, and he's aware of that. He's intentionally like, I'm not living in that normal societal reality right now because I can't. And so
Yeah.
it's really interesting that he goes from like, it feels awkward in the beginning when he's trying to like incite racial like tensions. It feels awkward, you know what I mean? And the
Mhm.
least awkward thing he said is do you want some white meat? It almost feels like he's like antagonizing them with like the idea of like, don't you want to beat up a white guy? But then like as it goes on, it gets more and more like targeted at the other person. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
think part of that is he gets more and more he his fuse is burning up. He's more and more upset and more done and more
Mhm.
doesn't care about the morality of anything he's doing anymore. I think, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Your thoughts, Braden?
I don't know, but with the Crank films, yeah, I love them a lot. The second one I love more than the first one, and I've read the script for both films a lot because, and like with the Crank films,
They
they're
feel
really are,
like they're one movie. It feels so cohesive. I guess because
yeah,
it's
yeah,
because we watched them back to back, and I know there's like a 3 year gap, but it's impressive to have a 3 year gap and feel like you are literally right back. Like
no, no,
there's
no,
not
no,
nothing
they,
has really changed. You're
no,
right
no,
The
back there.
only difference I really noticed is like
The phones.
they the way the films look is different. They
no, no,
different for like the color grading is different.
Yeah, technology and the technology changed. So we also saw different cars, different phones, because there's not much you can do about that.
Mhm.
So it's really funny for them to be. They almost like intentionally made fun of it at one point in the beginning of the second movie when they were like, they were basically like poking fun at the idea he doesn't know what an iPhone is, but
Mhm.
it's been because he's been in a coma for 3 months because the iPhone came out like that version of an iPhone came out in the 3 years between the movies. And so the implication that in the 3 months he missed like a huge technological advancement and there's all these new cars and phones is kind of funny to me.
no,
But
but when it comes to the writing of the
mm,
second film, and even like as John, as you were saying about the different look, Mark Neville and Brian Taylor, they were always camera guys. They were huge like music video guys, so to speak. So
that explains a lot.
the second movie was shot on Sony handheld digital cameras that only cost like they kept breaking them throughout the course of filming from the stunts and from like them like filming different things. These are smashable cameras that could save digitally. So like the second film is more on digital, while the first film is on other cameras that were more like still digital, but they kind of like they had different. It was like a
Yeah.
different vibe. So and
Yeah.
they were really worried about breaking the
They
camera.
genuinely absorb light differently, the cameras, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, yeah.
it's gonna look different.
Yeah.
No, so when it comes to the second Craig film, they pretty much said it has like a Sony filter, and but they did crank up the blues. They cranked up like a lot of the lighting, and they wanted it to be like the second.
Which helps set it in the past a little bit more.
Yeah,
Like it helps it feel more like the first movie because the visual like even if it's a little bit different, the visual style we remember from like the 2006 era is extremely like that blue green
Mhm.
like heavy tone, like you know what I mean, like that the darks being heavy with indigo. Like when you're in color grading, you can go into the dark tones of an image and push different colors into that dark tone. And put you can tell they push in like cyan and indigo up in in all of the tone ranges, basically.
Mark Nelvey and Brian Taylor. When it came to the first Crank movie, it was originally written for Nicolas Cage, but he was too busy. He had to say no. The first film was meant to be a tribute to Face Off and how Nicolas Cage loses his mind in that and goes
Mhm.
crazy. And then they couldn't get him. And then there were some other people they considered, like Gerard Butler, like some other action people. And then
Who all would have been good, but I think there's something about Jason that is perfect for it.
no, no, he
Yeah.
threw himself into this. Like one of the reasons why, Jason Statham, I always feel like he's very like he's a beloved action hero actor, and people like his films no
People
matter what.
think he's like people think he's overrated because he's in so much stuff, but if you actually watch everything he's in compared
He
to
puts in
other
the
people
work.
and compared to other people who just like kind of like
Mhm.
get whatever they want because of their name, like no like some of the rock stuff, you know what I mean? Like Jason is always giving it 100%.
Oh
No,
yeah.
no,
To
no,
the point
especially
where you're like to the point where you're like, oh, now I see why everyone wants to work with him, not just because he's a famous face, because he is not checked out the way other
Mhm.
actors can tend
well,
to be
no,
sometimes.
Jason Statham in his interviews, like he's great and like a lot of stuff. Like, but he's always said, it's funny because like his career started in the '90s with when he was a regular. and a lot of Guy Ritchie British crime drama and British crime comedies. And in those films in the '90s, he could be very comedic. But then when he did the Transporter films, which started in like the early 2000s, that's when he shifted more into action. But even in 2000s, actually, he learned martial arts, he learned all this stuff. And even he said, oh, no. He's always been kind of down and humble upon himself because Statham was always like, no. I'm not an actor. I'm a stuntman that knows my lines. But I argue he has a lot of range. And in these Crank films, he has an
He's so
ability.
humble, but he's
Yeah.
actually has quite more like acting range than a lot of other action stars, I think.
No. I agree. No, but
I
that's one of the best.
genuinely he sold the like he never made it seem like, oh, this guy's secretly like a softie on the inside and it's all fake. No, we believe the way he acts is himself, but also there's more going on. That there this is it's complex and layered.
Yeah.
And I like the moments where he's completely alone and it's actually like still for just a second, and you can tell and you can see Jason's face go from anger to fear, to like fear and loneliness and confusion and worry. Like he's like,
Mhm.
and that's why I think, and I want to talk about this. I think my favorite moment out of all of it is that one scene where he stops to hide in the hospital room
Mhm.
and stops and stares at the guy in the bed and even like gets down on his eye level to like look him in the face. You know what I mean? In a way where he doesn't seem angry for the
Mhm.
first
No.
time in a while,
In
and
the
like and then the minute like he like moves on and we don't get any explanation for that, and that fully didn't need to be in the movie in terms of like
Mhm.
action and stuff, but I do think it needed to be in the movie in terms of like grounding us and then this is still
Mhm.
a human being. This is still a
Yeah.
human being who fears more death, who has feelings about death regardless of whether he's causing it or running away from it. And I think what he fears the most is, and he even said it later in the second movie, that the idea of dying as an old man like in a hospital bed like that seems like to freak him out
Mhm.
more. Like he wants to stay alive.
Right.
He doesn't want to die because of this thing. But he also says at one point in the movie that he's like, I guess this isn't the worst way to go in like a
Mhm.
blaze of glory. Because like some people want a quiet, peaceful death, but I think to other people that's terrifying.
Yeah.
In
Oh.
the one of the Neville and Taylor when they were writing the first film, and it's even in some of the subtext they wrote down in the script, they were like, "We want to pay tribute to video games like Grand Theft Auto, like some other
Hmm.
stuff," and
Hmm.
the feeling of you're gonna die, it's gonna be over. But they were also like, "What if we had an assassin learn to be in touch with his feelings?" Like one of the things that even in that scene, which I also love, where he's looking at the old man in the script, it's like in the scripture, before I remember, it was like he pauses thinking about a future he can never have, and he does get like in the script, it
Yeah,
was
he
like
can
he's
never
reminded of his
have
fear.
it, but does he? It's one of the things he can never have that, especially now. But it's also it's something I think he might have feared. But now he's being faced with an actual violent death out of his
Mhm.
control, a painful violent death out of control as dying young, and then looking at the opposite, having lived long enough to die at like peacefully in your sleep, like this old guy is probably gonna
Mhm.
go. And that's when I think it's a moment where like you're thinking, I didn't want this for so long, but right now I'm starting to wonder if this
Mhm.
actually would be something better, and maybe I'm now realizing it when I finally have the option to have it taken away
Mhm.
from me. Like because he technically always had the option, which is what the first movie is about, to leave and try and have a different life and then maybe have that life, which seemed to be what he wanted with Eve. But he also seemed hesitant and didn't tell Eve sooner because he was like, do I want to give up my way of life? Like he was on that crossroads, I think. You know what I mean? When this all happened, and it forces him to be like, now I don't have a choice. Now I don't get to slow down. Now I don't get to relax. Now I don't get to go live a normal life. It's been taken away from me before I could even make that decision. And I think regardless of what decision he would have made, the fact that now he can't make it is an
Mhm.
interesting part of why he's like staring at that guy in the hospital like,
I I
I
think
can't
that
have that if I wanted to now.
I
What were you saying,
think
John?
that scene though is also like another complexity of that scene that is I think that in that scene he also was thinking about killing that man in the hospital
Yeah.
bed and being like and like I think he was trying to weigh that option of being like like I know that this will this that killing a person that does side to you that will absolutely raise your heart rate. No,
Yeah.
doing that.
I think that
And
might
like
have been a
he,
thought as well.
I think that he was. I think that he was debating with himself of like, is it worth it taking this innocent life,
Especially when I doubt he
with
has
the
much time left anyways.
with also this idea, with also like I wouldn't be surprised if as also in his mind he was like, I part of what was like pushing him towards maybe being okay with doing it is being like, this guy is very close to death.
Yeah, he could have seen it.
He's not going to live if inside. So this
Yeah,
is maybe a merciful death.
yeah, he easily could have justified it and to himself as being like, oh, it's a bit of a mercy kill. He's not going to be alive for much longer anyway. And this would raise my heartbeat. But also, that would draw more attention to him in the hospital
Yeah.
when he's trying to get away. So there is that. And also, I think what's interesting is that guy's asleep and he's looking at him. Think about how the movie started
Mm-hmm.
with them violating him while he's asleep and taking away the choice of how to end his life and how to,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And that would be what he is also doing to that man. And I feel like that
Mm-hmm.
might have been part of it where he's like, listen, I've done a lot of things, but do I really want to just do what that other guy did to me?
Yeah.
Basically, it's not really gonna help me right now, especially. And then when you
Mm.
think about the logical perspective of like, is setting off the alarm should this guy flatlined gonna help me hide? Probably not. So like, I do think he had a minute of like, oh, is strangling this guy gonna raise my heart rate? And then he was probably like,
Yeah.
that's actually not worth it in many ways. Like, not
Oh
even just from
yeah.
a moral
And like that
standpoint,
make
being like,
in like
maybe not.
I think like that added like thing of like him not only thinking about his own
Mhm.
demise, but also thinking about the possibility of taking this guy's his life. I
On an
really
emotional and
makes it even
practical
more
level.
deep, that
Yeah.
that scene. I think that's really cool. Oh, one thing though, I was thinking about as I was rewatching in the movies today, I by myself,
Hmm. A
and
refresher.
and one thing I kept thinking about as I was watching it was like, is so drugs that are put that are in your body, I they don't stay in your body forever. Or
Well,
could he have just kept keeping his heart rate up for like a couple of days, and then the drug would have like dissipated?
I'm not entirely sure, but it seems like what they were saying is the drug specifically, it's not a drug that necessarily passes through you. It's a drug that binds itself to your cells
Mm-hmm.
And
specifically.
Yeah.
by
And it seems to they said to bind itself to the blood cells. And so the way to get rid of that would actually be to cycle all of his blood out and put in completely new blood. And I was thinking about how it seemed like they had like dropped the Chinese, drug
yeah,
thing in
yeah,
the
they
second
did.
movie, and it was just,
Into
and I realized that's because during the transplant process, they obviously they cycled his blood. He doesn't have those
Mm-hmm.
blood infected blood cells anymore. So it's one of those things where like just naturally, it would be extremely hard to do that without filtering out your blood. You know what I mean? He could
well,
keep
because
going, and the main problem was that keeping going was keeping him alive, but it was straining his organs in his heart, and so his heart was
Mm-hmm.
so damaged they said that he wouldn't have lasted much longer, even if they, you know what I mean? So that's why they didn't just transfuse out, like his heart was damaged, but it needed time to heal. You know what I mean? Because it was strong enough to stay alive, but it just couldn't keep going like that nonstop. So they took it out of him, put it on ice, basically let it recover, put a new heart in him, and then and they seem to be like, because they wanted to harvest the rest of his organs, they seem to be like repeatedly transplanting in new artificial hearts once they stopped working. And in the process of that, while he was in coma, they would have been continually dialysis transfusing his blood, like because of this, just how that
Mm-hmm.
works. You know what I mean? There's an external machine that like takes over during a heart transplant that cycles your blood for you.
Makes
Basically,
sense.
and so they would have had to put him on something like that to even do the heart thing. Therefore, it makes sense, even if they didn't explicitly state
Mm-hmm.
it, but just the logic of what happened, that they would have taken all of that blood that was bound to the Chinese cocktail out, and that's probably been disposed of.
That makes sense.
no, because
Yeah.
even in the first film, another great scene where Chev realizes, oh shit, this I really am gonna die soon.
Mhm.
Remember when the first one was made, they didn't think they were gonna get a sequel. They weren't gonna do any sequel.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But in that scene, we was talking to Dr. Miles, and
Yeah,
the
the
doc is like,
doctor's like,
no, I'm giving you drugs to help fight the other drugs. It's gonna make you feel good, but you're still fucked because he's
Mm-hmm.
probably still thinking everything that's inside of you has the poison. Is I can't just like I'm sure he was thinking
like
I
frankly, yeah, frankly, like frankly, it like that's why the doctor was so shocked when he was alive, not just because falling out of the helicopter, which frankly there is precedent for people surviving that if they go limp. There's a dude who was drunk and passed out, and he got picked up by a tornado and flung like miles, and he was fine because apparently when your body's completely limp, it doesn't get damaged, and like he was not like completely fine, but he wasn't like
Dead.
broken up in the same way. Wasn't dead, and his bones weren't broken in the same way that they or strained or muscles weren't strained in the same way that they expect or that they see when someone conscious gets ripped up into a tornado and dropped. Because what we have to understand is our muscles clench up and start fighting again. Like our muscles, like when we're like that, our muscles when they're like clenched up, they're like fighting against each other and pulling on your body in like all these different directions while you're being like spun around in the air. You know what I mean? And what people don't realize is we have an automatic nervous system cut off of how strong our muscles can be because the actual physical strength of our muscles, if they were not control, like if they were allowed to just do what they could do physically, no matter what, are enough to rip your own muscles apart and rip your bones apart. Like they have, like your muscles aren't actually at full strength, and that's why when adrenaline hits and people suddenly have way more strength, like their nervous system bypassing the cutoff. But that usually might means that they like the people who like a mother who lifts a car off a baby because of adrenaline. We always hear about that part. We don't hear about her going to the hospital because she ripped her shoulder muscle off of her body when she did that, which is usually what happens. Like some of your body rips off of itself because
Makes
it's
sense.
just the connection is not as strong as the actual fiber in a lot of times. So when you're unconscious, that's not happening. And if you're limp, there's less strain of like your bones literally being pulled on by your muscles. But of course, you still have the impact damage. But like, so when I'm thinking about him falling, the fact that he was so relaxed just on the phone and he kind of accepted it, that technically does make it slightly more believable. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
It
Yeah,
makes it
and also,
slightly more believable that he was completely limp when it happened. That is more believable to me.
well, also another thing is, during the climax of the first film, he
Mhm.
gets hit with more of the poison in the neck.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a moment where I think he was gonna die faster. So when he really let go and said goodbye to Eve on the phone, he's like, "Okay, I'm done. I killed the guy who killed me. All the bad guys are dead. Eve's safe. Okay." And then when he lets go, I think
Because
his
he
heart,
didn't know about the brother, so in his mind, he's like,
yeah,
okay, now no one's gonna come after Eve for retribution, which is his main concern, frankly.
yeah,
Because and it's
and
interesting
seemingly,
how he has that moral line of like, yeah, I've heard a lot of people and they want to get revenge on me, but the fucked up thing is they're gonna take revenge on this innocent person. Like, is him killing the brother is taking revenge, but that brother was actually involved. He was there in the room.
when it
He,
happened, yeah,
you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But that's more like personal. Eve has not done anything to any of these people, and he knows they're gonna go after her.
Mhm.
And that's just like it seems like what he hates the most, because this also is what went wrong with Kalo. What he hates the most is when someone gets hurt because of him
yeah.
in a way he didn't intend, because he wants to be responsible for everything. Like he seems fine with the stuff he does, if it's about him. Like he can make the choice to hurt someone and have them hurt him back, and that's fine. But if he hurts someone and then that leads to collateral
Mhm.
damage that he can't control, that seems to upset him partially just from a control aspect.
Yeah.
Like this is out of my control. Like why did
You
like
know,
when Kalo died, he was pissed because he's like
Mhm.
this per like and like yeah, Kalo wasn't involved, but like Kalo actually like didn't actually help kill that guy. He was being attacked, you know what I mean? So
Oh yeah.
it's one of those things where like it it's when people get caught up in the collateral damage that he just seems to get not necessarily like distraught and hating himself for it, but like kind of annoyed. Like that's the thing. He never seems super like guilty. He just seems exasperated and kind of annoyed sometimes when things go a way he doesn't like. He's like, really? I have to point a gun at this nurse. That's what I'm doing right now. This
no,
is annoying.
well, there's also another thing. There's one thing that the second film does that I feel like is kind of not only great commentary on the first film, but it's also like it kind of is great commentary because these films are tribute to video games and video
Mhm.
game style storytelling. But
Yeah,
like with Orlando and with
I love
Kalo and his brother,
Orlando.
and then Kalo and his brother Venus, you can actually argue that when they show up in the climax of the second film, it's like the equivalent of like a DLC merging with the main storyline.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Makes
all the
sense.
And
supporting
notice
characters.
they specifically didn't show us those characters dying or
Yeah,
surviving. Because I feel like even if they didn't make a third movie about Jason Statham, I could see us getting spin-off content about these other characters that are
yeah,
Oh
quite
yeah.
interesting.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Because like
I
Yeah.
wanted to know more about Orlando and Set and like
Oh yeah.
Venus.
I could
Those are cool
absolutely
people.
see a spin-off about them. I also
And
like
Ria
think that
got burned, but we don't know if she's dead. Like she probably jumped right
like
into the
oh, this is
pool.
that. Yeah, yeah.
I also like I would honestly love like the third film to be having Eve as the main character
No, the
instead of
second film, it started to get that, like, we started to realize, oh, she can defend herself. And
yeah.
I think that was always true, but in the first movie, to be fair, she was
She didn't
suddenly
get a
thrown into a
chance.
bunch of
Yeah,
gunfights where
yeah.
nobody was actually
Oh
close to her
yeah.
enough to punch. She was like, what the fuck? I don't have a gun.
Like I think it would be so much fun to see like a third film where she gets it's like I injected by this I this drug and like Jason is there, but he's there just to help her.
Yeah, and I like the
And not
idea of
actually is the main character. I think could be really cool.
especially
Like
since the Trank movies, like, as much as I do enjoy them, we can't deny male gaze as fuck. But
Yeah.
that's
oh
kind of
yeah,
the point where it's almost satirical, you know what I mean? So
You know what's funny?
I enjoyed that because it's almost like, which is also how it, like, these directors seem to do this a lot, where they almost take like the misogynistic gamer incel,
Yeah.
like hardcore toxic masculinity culture, and make it like to ridiculous spectacle heights of satire. You know what
oh
I
Yeah.
yeah,
mean?
No, no, no. Yeah,
In a
that's
way
what makes it
where they
work.
clearly still enjoy some of that stuff, but they're also like mocking some of it. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
In
But
interviews,
still, there is
Yeah,
some like male gay stuff of like how
oh
the women
yeah,
are treated. But it is interesting because I would like to see Eve as like the switch protagonist in the sense of like, because it's very much about like it's very much like how raunchy and shocking can this male protagonist be. And I like the trend that we've had since these movies came out with, even with, especially with stuff with like Spy with Melissa McCarthy and Jason Statham, that are like, women can also be the comedian star of something where the whole point is
oh
how
yeah,
ridiculously
absolutely.
insanely offensive and raunchy they
And
can
like
be.
like I like so I was thinking about while watching is like I how we how yeah we like we both thought as we were watching about how
We
this like we thought there would just be a moment of a character eating pussy and I was thinking
It felt like a
after
missed
watching it I'm like
opportunity.
I this film has so much of men getting pleasure.
Hmm.
I think it could benefit a lot from some women getting pleasure in it.
And all we really got for that
Which like
was Eve, because Eve, like, once she got like, of course, in the first movie, it's a lot more like questionable, the consent situation in
mhm,
in like the Chinatown at first, because she's like, what is going on? But then like she like does like decide, okay, I actually am into
yeah,
this. So like, and it's quite verbal about it, and so that kind of helps it like not. But then like the thing is like all those, like, the thing about that is like all those people did not consent to that, but this exists in like kind of like a
mhm,
heightened satire world where the idea is that everybody is morally bankrupt on some
yeah,
level. You know what I mean? Which is
oh
very
yeah,
common for these filmmakers.
yeah,
So, but then again, we also see that not everybody is morally bankrupt, because then we
mhm.
cut to people being like, "That's why did that happen? That's offensive." But they're the minority, and they're repeatedly not listened to by anybody else in the movie. And but
um,
the movie doesn't frame them as wrong. It
Yeah,
frames them as just not
all right,
being listened to, as being ignored, basically.
you, you know what's
yeah,
funny? In regards to because Crank inspired a lot of the films after this, and there was kind of a female version of a Crank movie, but it wasn't as violent or as satirical as old like this. There's a movie in 2021 called Kate, which had Mary Elizabeth Winstead play an assassin who was
Mm.
poisoned, and she has to
Oh,
do
I want to
similar
watch that.
things. Yeah, and
You
she
need to
has to do
watch
similar.
that for sure.
I they have to do similar things. I haven't seen it, but I remember like the talk around the town was, "Oh, cool, we got a female Crank movie," and then there were
that's
some
fun.
people when they watched it, they were kind of like, "It's not Crank enough." Like there were
Yeah,
some people who were
Yeah.
kind of like, "It
And that's
doesn't do."
probably because the studio was too afraid to
It was
do it with a
Netflix.
woman.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was Netflix too. They were also kind of
oh
like,
yeah, like
Because
there is
men can make
there
comedy where it's intentionally about
yeah
how fucked up they are and it's funny, but if women do that, it's a problem.
oh yeah,
because
and
there's so many
also
other
there's
things.
this also in like society these days there's so much prudishness about women enjoying sex
Yeah, there
and
is.
it's
Like,
it like it's insane. So and
It
how people act about it sometimes.
it is kind of an indicator of how, like, even if we were like, obviously as we're watching the movie, the two of us, we're completely on board with like the raunchy tone level. So we're like there,
Yeah.
expecting raunchy, crazy, sexual, like crazy shit. So then, but because our bias is not necessarily like as misogynistic, you know what I mean? Like we're
Mhm.
like we were expecting that scene to be cut away to him eating her pussy while she's on the phone, because that would
Yeah,
be
that
that's
also
literally a trope, you know what I mean? But then it didn't happen, and we were kind of like, huh? Because it was such a perfect setup for it that I was like, wait, what's happening?
also even though I personally am not attracted to this, I think since there is so much sexualization of women in this is and like particularly in the second film
To be
there
fair,
actually is like some fully
oh yeah,
naked women and we could I think it would have absolutely been fitting for these films to have some dick too.
but I
Like
will say that I did enjoy whenever we would like go to cut to Orlando and like the black like leather gay bar that he's at, you know what I mean? Or like the clubs that Venus and no, like what's his name went to? Like you did see some queer kink shit
mhm.
happening. Like a guy being walked
Oh
around
yeah.
shirtless on a
Well,
leash.
now and
I was like, give me more of that.
no. Neville Dean and Taylor are very much straight guys, but the most gays, they at least the most like male gays
But you
think.
can almost feel that they still have spent time
No,
with
yeah.
like sex workers, drag
Mhm.
queens, like gay people at clubs, because they've been partying probably. They've
No, I
been
mean,
to
because like
bars.
the closest they got to showing cock or like showing male nudity was in the film Gamer, because
Gamers
at
kind of gay as fuck if you think
no,
about
no,
it.
no, no, because in Gamer, there's a lot of crotch shots of even the guys, and then there's a scene where Terry Crews is naked, and he asks to be naked, and they filmed him naked, and he's just talking to Gerard Butler, talking about all the men he killed. He's fully naked, but the way they framed it, they were still kind of being like,
Mhm.
Terry, we're not going to show your dick, but like we know
It's
you want to show it, but
But it's also one of those things where it's not just about the directors. There has been
uh,
like there's like an unofficial rule of like that's not okay. You can show women but not men's dick.
yeah,
But
and that's
which
and
is
that's
which
annoying.
has been
And
getting
like
pushed
the
back. It's been getting pushed back recently, but
you
it
know
was like the unofficial rule.
yeah,
you
because
know
this
in like
there's
the
a lot of
second in the second film though I was more be like cowards they censored it because I would love to see pussy
oh no, you
but
know why they had to censor it?
in the scene at the at with the horse at the horse racing place they could have
We could show
not
horse
had it
stick.
sent. They could show horse stick, but they had to censor where there would have been a chance of seeing in Jason Statham's dick.
No, 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 you know why, right?
Let us see Jason
No,
Statham's stick.
no, do you know why? You know why, right? Do you know why?
Why? What's
No,
up?
you can't show physical penetration, even simulated, in a film. So if
So
they could,
dumb.
no, you can't even show a prosthetic dick entering a pussy. You can't show like that's
Because
why.
unfortunately, that does classify it as pornography.
No, no, because
That does
also
cross the
and
line into
also
getting it classified as porn, I think.
no, no, but
So, which
also
has
not
different
just
legal things.
no, no, but not just that. Now, obviously, we know about intimacy coordinators now, which are a thing. Back
Mhm.
then, it wasn't a thing. But
Mhm.
not just that. When it came to the acting Guild
Wasn't
of
there that
America,
one movie where they fully raped a girl with a stick of butter in the movie and they just left her there?
Marlon Brando did that, where he
That's
and the
why
director, yeah,
that's why Marlon Brando is going to hell and is probably in
no,
hell.
no, no, no. Also, yeah, he's a terrible person.
That's
No,
insane.
no, no,
Oh
he's a
yeah.
terrible person. No, no, no. But like, I remember the movie Purple Rain.
Mhm.
There's a scene in the movie where Prince, his character, is about to have sex with a woman. He reaches down and he touches her pussy, and we can see he's actually touching. It's not simulated.
Mhm.
That caused massive repercussions behind the scenes. Even
Even
also
if she
because
was fine with it, it's
no,
just like that's so huge.
no, no,
That's a big
no,
deal.
she was fine with it. But then this led to anti-Bush law because it was her pussy and Bush. So
Yeah.
that's when movies and movie executives said you can show pussy, but if you show hair, we're gonna charge you more money. That's why Bush pussy got
So
banned from films.
And
And
that's why
then
a lot of urban legends have been spread about people like editing out Bush in movies where it's like, no, they just made the actresses like they just often made actresses shave, and even when they didn't, they would just do other stuff. But like there is like that urban myth about editing out all the like the bush hair in Alien, where that didn't exactly happen, but there was some argument behind the scene about the idea of the
It was
bush.
shadowing. It was really shadowing that the MPA was getting mad about. I said we need you to put more light on her legs because we need to see
So that
that
it
there's no
doesn't
hair.
look like she has, yeah. And so that got misinterpreted down through
Now,
the game of telephone to people being like, oh, they had to go in and paint out every one of her bush hairs. No,
now
they
does it
just that wasn't what happened. They had an argument over
for
making sure her crotch was properly lit, so no one could even imagine a hair.
now for
No,
these like these rules and rules and is that just like completely a legal thing that has to be followed, or is
it's
that
a legal thing.
that for
No, no,
the
It's a
MPAA?
legal thing.
it's a legal
Okay.
thing, John. That's why, like, no, like even like okay, this is movie.
Unfortunately, it's a blurry line between the two, John.
No.
Unfortunately, the
Even
people that
before,
like the
Oh,
unofficial rules can often become
mhm.
official.
I'm
no. But
just
even
like wondering because like say like a new crank film were to be made,
mhm.
could they get away with a lot more of those things if they just bypass the MPAA in general and just release it unrated?
But no, okay,
There
before the
would
end,
be
no.
some legal problems still, but if they release it on a different platform than in theaters, they could get away with different
Okay,
stuff.
so for example, okay, so John, if in a movie, okay, let's say I think Jason Statham and Amy Smart are part of SAG, the Screen Actors
Hmm.
Guild Awards.
Jason definitely is.
As as a SAG actor,
Hmm.
okay, if I'm about to have a sex scene in a project, SAG reads the script and it's like, oh, you have a sex scene. We're gonna send someone to check in on you to make sure you're not being sexually harassed.
Hmm.
But
Which is good.
we
Yeah.
need you to sign a report telling you which parts of your body are you showing, what are you also need to be there in the editing room to
Sounds like a
approve the
lot.
sex scene. You must also be there to tell your co-star what they can and cannot touch. You must also be there with the intimacy coordinator and tell them an honest, like, okay, there's a recent
Which is understandable to have all those
Mm-hmm.
things, but when you're requiring that of the actual actor every single time, that makes it to where that's an overwhelming amount of extra
a
work
paperwork.
Yeah.
That's
and
why you notice
paperwork that
you
they might
sex
just
scenes.
decide that's not worth it.
That's why sex scenes are going to TV shows and leaving film because it's
Hmm.
easier to do it in
Mm-hmm.
TV
Hmm.
than in film because
Yeah.
there's less of a paperwork thing. But not
Yeah,
just
it's
that.
the paperwork for the film industry is insane.
No.
For
Mm-hmm.
but it's for understandable reasons,
Because
but
of
it's
Me Too
also like can we
and other stuff.
it's like it's one of the things where they tried to fix a problem that is like the problem is how much control men and cis men have over Hollywood, specifically in the boys club. And they're trying to fix that by being like, oh, well, if you do a bunch of paperwork, that means that nobody can get in trouble. You know what I mean? Because all the paperwork is cleared. But that just puts more work on all the actual people who are creatives and stuff. And that puts more pressure on them. And
And
that
also,
and it's and like, well, it's understandable. It still ignores the root issue, which is that it's still basically the same boys club. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
no, but also another thing, John, is that like there's okay, there are some other things that people don't know because no one they don't want to talk about this. It's hard to
Hmm.
talk about. But like when you show nudity of anything, men, women, and even like this TV show I love called Spartacus. I don't think you guys have seen it. Have you guys seen it?
I've heard
I've
of
seen
it, but I haven't actually watched it.
I've seen clips of it because isn't Lucy Lawless in that show?
She's in that. No.
I've
In
seen
the
clips of Lucy
in the
Lawless being hot in that show.
in the TV show Spartacus,
Yep.
there's so much cock,
Hell
pussy,
yeah.
everything. No. But
We should
I'll
watch
tell you,
that.
no. Spartacus is one's a bit rough, but the show is awesome. But I'm kid you not, Kira. It was the most amount of dick and pussy I've ever seen in any TV show.
Equality.
No. And even
Equality.
no. And the actors said this is how they did it. All the actors who are appearing nude, you will be naked in this room together and being watched, and you will all be naked at the same time.
We're making sure you don't do any funny business, even
No.
consensually, because it'll just be bad paperwork.
There's even a scene in Spartacus because a lot of the gladiators they could be bidded on for sex, right? So there's a scene in Spartacus where all the men are like take it off and they show all their dicks from small dick to big, like Magnum
Yeah,
dong to
it's like it's a thing where like they still are like they're not slaves, so it's not like they're being bought necessarily.
they can
But
consent to it, but
yeah,
it's so weird.
it's more akin to those charity auctions that
Yeah,
we hold today, where someone
Oh yeah,
volunteers to like have a date with them as a thing,
yeah,
which obviously includes like the consent of it all. But it is a thing
but
where like
no, but
you are
yeah.
buying
Like
time with
there's
this person,
in
yeah,
Spartacus there was
which
so much
it's like elaborate like auctioneering sex work.
which personally, if there's if both parties consent to it, I have no problem with that. But you know, I remember. So there was a situation where where a church that I used to go to, there were older people from the church who were trying to create a auction for basically have a slave for a day, and they weren't going to give us the option for whether we participate in this. They
See,
just said
that's weird.
all the young men in the church have to will have to participate in this. I'm like, fuck
See, that's
no,
weird.
I'm
It would
not
be
doing that
it would
shit.
be different if it was like opt in and it was like and it was framed differently. It was like
No.
have someone be an assistant or like a
Yeah,
helper
they
for a
said
little bit if they
basically said
consent.
they didn't say slave. They just said
It was a vibe.
basically basically we're going we would auction you off and the person can tell you to do whatever they want for the day. I'm like, no,
There has to be some parameters
absolutely
there at
not.
least. You
That's
can't
just
say
insane.
whatever. Yeah.
Like that's insane. And the fact that you if we had done this, if they were not planning
So
on giving
weird.
them giving these people the choice for whether they were going to be in it or not, is like that is just fucking insane.
Yeah, like if you had to opt in and you had strict guidelines on like you people like people can have you help with their groceries or help them you know paint a house, like
Yeah.
doing some basic like yard work or helping someone out, like that might be something I would opt in for and be like, "Oh, okay." But whatever you want with no opt in and like is it forced? That's
It's like,
fucking weird.
and it was particularly like the old people of the church who wanted to do
Strange.
this. Is and
They just
obviously
wanted
because
someone to do their
they
yard work.
obviously because they weren't gonna be the people who were being auctioned
Oh
off. They
yeah.
wanted to be the young people of the church being auctioned off.
This is like the beginning of Get Out, kind of. It's kind of weird.
It's like
It's like
Jesus
this is kind of
Christ.
weird. I want
Oh
to hear
my god.
more about the script, Brayden. You said you read it for both of them?
Yeah, I read it for both of them because it's been online for years. Yeah, and there's like different things that were like cut, and there was even like different. There was more lore with the bad
Oh,
guys
neat.
that were also cut for time.
I did
Like
feel like there was a lot going on that we just didn't have time to explore with
because
the
okay,
Yeah.
the
so
world the world building of whatever the
I
fuck is going
felt,
on in the
no,
scene.
yeah, I definitely felt like there was a lot cut. Even just like scenes
The second one,
like
I feel like a lot was
the
cut.
like particularly a like how did the villains end up kidnapping and killing Kalo? I don't think was actually I ever revealed, and
That
then they
doesn't
had like
that's not super surprising to me because I
and
remember thinking during the scene where they were killing the brother, they were not good at
mhm.
hiding the fact that they did that.
and
Like, you know what I mean? Like they were in a club where everyone saw them go out into the alleyway and then they found a dead body there.
Mhm.
It's
and
no,
not
then
but
that it's not
and
rocket
then like
science.
yeah,
in the second film I watched this twice. I still am not sure or what was going on here of why Jason Statham's character left the car that was or that had Eve and the other girl in it and then she doesn't show up again until the horse race ace. I'm like, what was
Yeah.
going on there? But what
It kind of works though because you're so locked into following his paw and it's so frantic and
Mhm,
hectic that it feels like it makes sense that he's not like he's losing tracks of other people's plot lines because he has no idea and then they show
yeah.
back up and you have a feeling that they had something going on but he's not experiencing that because he's busy with his fucking bullshit. So
Mhm,
it felt like they kept like meeting up and then he kept having like to go because of reasons and then she kept getting left behind having to chase after him. But it did feel a little bit like where's she been? Wait, what? So
no,
was
no,
there anything about that in the script?
no. Basically, there was like some stuff that well, I think it might have been filmed, but they're just like, no. It makes more sense. We just imply it, but not talk about it. Basically, okay,
Yeah, like there's some
he
things that like make sense. Like the
no,
blood thing, I'm like, okay, that makes sense.
no. Basically, he was in the crank to impress that he was gonna tell her, or like he did tell her, go to Doc, just go into Doc's house because you know where he is. Go to him and just wait for me. But she didn't want to wait for him. That's why. So even though he left her, that's why she wanted to
mhm.
pursue him. And then when
She got bored.
there's like some other stuff for like just like a lot of back and forth stuff. Okay, when it comes to like the criminals, like um Carlito's men versus Don Kim's men.
Mhm.
Um, this is where some of the stuff comes in. And like, this is how there's some interesting stuff with Orlando that
Yeah,
kind
there
of
was clearly like triad versus cartel beef happening.
Yeah. So basically, what it came down to, you know how they mentioned the demo job that Orlando and
Yeah.
Ricky did, right? Before
And
things
that
went
and
bad.
that yeah, he got
Ricky
fucked
Verona.
over on it.
Yeah. So basically, here's what happened. It's more explicit in some of the other drafts. So basically, um, Orlando was running coke and he's doing a good job, but the
Which I feel
Carlito,
like we could have guessed.
no, yeah, but Carlito's men wanted to try tap this other part of LA, right? Especially when he and Orlando split apart.
A turf
But
war.
Dom Kim and Chinatown was already locked in, and Don Kim was leaving China because of everything going on with the Chinese guy,
Yeah.
the guy who wanted Chev's Hard too.
Yeah.
Like he was being pushed into LA because he's like, yeah,
Because
Poondog. That's what that's. He's like,
he
I don't.
very much said that he didn't fuck with the rest of the triads, like religious fervor for Pundong. He was like, I'm the only one who doesn't really like that guy. Like,
sign that I think is interesting with that. That I wonder if it was like actually meant to be the case. So that character, I'm pretty sure, he is played by a white guy.
No, he has no, dude, no. Let me explain.
I'm pretty sure that's the character played by Robert Carradine.
No, David Carradine.
Oh, David Carradine, and
Wait.
and I'm wondering if he in the universe is actually supposed to be a white guy, and but for some reason the rest of the triad is obsessed with him, but this one guy is like, yeah, fuck that. We're not not be honor that.
Let me explain. So David Carradine, Kira, you kind of know him. He played Bill in Kill Bill, but David Carradine, but David Carradine, he became incredibly popular for the TV show Kung Fu. Now, Kung Fu was a show that was meant for Bruce Lee, but CBS went Bruce Lee's too Asian, so then they cast David Carradine, who is a white guy who's very ambiguous. So in the show Kung Fu, David Carradine played the character of Kane, a half white, half Chinese.
I'm looking at David Carradine himself right now. This man does look Asian. I won't lie.
No. So David Carradine,
he has my problem where he's clearly Scandinavian. Like I can already tell.
No. So David Carradine, his entire career has been martial arts films, and he said, no. I am a white man that looks Asian. I am friends with Asian, and I've played Asian guys throughout my entire career. So when they approached him for Kill Bill Volume, for Crank 2, it was actually a few months before he died. They were like, "Do you want to play an Asian character?" And so David Carradine, his character, he's in Asian face makeup. It's heavily implied. It's just a fan theory some people have.
Yeah, he is. He's literally Ukrainian, English, Italian, and Cherokee.
Yeah. So he must play Native American characters too.
But obviously that's like the small amount. But like that is I've known a lot of white people who have even a little bit of indigenous in them, like not enough to claim it. But people will be like, you don't look white. You don't look exactly like I expect.
No, David Carradine was that guy. That's why, like, even when he played Bill and Kill Bill,
I'm literally looking at him and I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm sure, like, especially back then, he was getting cast and shit by Asian casting directors, I'm sure.
No, he did. He even did some like low rent kung fu movies.
This fucking picture of him I'm looking at right now is insane. Him bald is crazy work.
Oh, him the Asian.
He literally this is crazy work.
He even did Asian sketches with Asian comedians playing a white Asian guy. Like he's done. Like he was doing a bit that stayed with him.
He's been doing this bit for so long.
To the day he died. And so with his character of Poondog, there is an implication that
his daughter being brown is so funny.
No.
His daughter is brown and even more Asian than him. Good for her.
No. There's an implication that there's a fan theory that he might have been a white guy who turned himself Asian.
Yeah.
Through mad science surgery. Because like Crank 2 really made the mad science.
Oh, you mean the character? Okay, I was like, no, I'm looking at him. I heard dead ass for a second. I thought you were saying he
did actual mad scientist stuff in real time.
You saw my face. I didn't even flinch. I was like, no, I don't think so. I'm looking at pictures of him as he's young. That's so fucking. I was like, I'm like me acting like that. Like, because technically that is something you can do or like try to.
But no, trust me, he was a very.
It doesn't really work.
Man.
Like people who have tried to make people without monolids who try to make monolids, it always looks bad. Stop.
No,
And
you're
I
right.
know this because I literally have done consultations for facial work to try and make my eyelids match before when I was younger, and they told me it's not really worth it because it's gonna look bad. It would look
Yeah.
worse than it would now because trying to change your eyelids is one of the hardest parts of plastic surgery. So I was like, I guess I just gotta get over it. Because I used to be insecure not because of like anyone assuming I was insecure, just because the way my eyelids were uneven, it made me insecure because I had such a hard time doing makeup. Like it was purely like a practicality thing of like it's so difficult to do makeup when your face is not symmetrical because you have to follow like 5 different tutorials. And I was just tired. I was like, I'm done. But then I
No,
actually looked into it and I was like, no, that's not worth it.
no, yeah. But David Carradine, he was a very again, he was a white guy who looked
Mhm.
so different, and he
He
played Asian.
does.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah,
Again, as we've discussed, phenotypes are not actually consistent.
yeah,
He
yeah.
has phenotypes that people associate with, so I can see how that happened.
Yeah.
Not saying it's okay, but it's like I'm not surprised.
No, but again, when they did it in Crank 2, again, it was a reference to his career, and
Hmm.
it was also and
Mhm.
also they were like, he's gonna die, and also they're like, we're not gonna get an actual Asian guy to play this fucking cartoon over here. That's
No,
basically
like
what happened.
it's
Mhm.
and it also it's like it's again like the whole movies do and like again like the career of these guys, it feels so satirical almost.
Yeah,
Like it's like
Yeah.
making fun of of all of these things. And that feels like okay, I'll be so real. Didn't even realize when I was watching the movie because that's how convincing that is. I fully did not even notice. Like,
no, a lot
um,
of people didn't notice either. They were
what?
like,
Yo, why would you? Because he
Well,
does. It's not like they put like a
I
huge amount of
wouldn't have
makeup on him.
I
He just
wouldn't have noticed if
they
I
just made
hadn't
him look
looked at
older.
the cast before watching.
And you
no,
were
no,
like, who the fuck is that?
no. The only
Who
people
is
who
that?
the only people who really noticed was when like they were like, hey, that kind of looks like David Carradine. That kind of sounds like David, and like, oh,
Wait,
it's David.
no, who just recognize him, and they're like, wait a minute, I know this fucker. No, but it is. I do feel like that's an intentional like mockery
Mhm.
of an aspect of the genre that
Yeah.
exists because this is part of the like it's not necessarily a martial arts movie, but it is part of the action like genre. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so there's such a history of that Orientalism in the action genre. It almost feels again like the way the second movie heightened the like the intentional male gaze grossness to a level where it felt even more satirical when they literally had the
Mhm.
naked or like even at the end of the first one when they had the naked girls in vases like they're objects. I was like that is a really good way to visual like because in every time they had
Mhm.
gone to some sort of like crib there had been like women acting like kind of like objects, but it got increasingly more obvious until they were literally being objectified
Yeah.
as objects. And I was like, wow, that's intentional. They're going to
Mhm.
the
Or
point where
even
like,
like
okay, now we're at the big bad's place. He has to be the most objectifying of women. He has to be the
or
Yeah.
most extreme.
Yeah.
no, or even like
No.
that one joke into with the plastic tits that you and I were like, wait, hold on, that doesn't
That's
happen in
not
real
ex
life.
it's not exactly how it worked, but it very much was. If anything, it's very much like taking the a man's like a shitty guy's mental image and taking it to the extreme to the point where
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Same, which
Yeah.
again, Gamer also not as much, but Gamer also kind of felt like satirical to me. But it feels like that movie falls flat for me because it's not satirical enough. It tries to take itself too seriously. Um, whereas these movies are way better, I think, because they are not trying to be like a moody art piece half the time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Like Gamers tries to eat its cake and have it too, and it doesn't work very well.
Mhm.
I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but from a young age I was like, this could have been better. I feel like it kind of dropped the ball on like really making me feel like I understand how they feel. But like when I can't tell what the author is trying to say, I get annoyed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I
yeah.
Yeah.
like when it's
Definitely.
very clear
What,
and
what
it's
were we gonna
very
say? What were we gonna say, John?
So I was going to talk about you were bringing up how the how like they had like the most misogyny with the big
Mhm.
bad and and something I was thinking about as I was rewatching it today is oh so like they make a lot of gay jokes throughout
Mhm.
these films and I think there is like a good possibility that the big bad actually is gay and and this is just a facade that he has up of like a in society it's expected he's acted as the as this
I
leader
was
of a
also
mob's organization that he would
Yeah.
be a misogynistic and all this, and like, yeah, like he fucks women, but only because that's what it's expected of him,
And that could be true.
like in the I
That doesn't
in
make it
the
okay,
scene where
but
he's
a
in
lot
the
of
scene
people.
where he is shirtless, he very much looks like he's a gay porn star.
No, I did get the feeling that he like probably wasn't straight and was very insecure about it. And like again, it feels like Jason Statham, who's one of his best friends, is this like gay trans person. Like it feels like, especially back in that era, like it feels like he's one of the people who's like, oh, I'm just saying it to be an insult to this guy because it bugs him. I don't really hate you. You know what I mean? Which I'm
Yeah.
not saying that's okay, but there people exist like that. You know what I mean?
Oh
And
yeah.
he gives me that vibe of he's like he is saying it to this fucking dude because he knows it gets under his skin because he knows he's insecure about his masculinity and sexuality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Whereas he never like he like doesn't actually like hate on Kalo or any of these, you know what I mean? Like at most, he doesn't even hate on Rhea for like being it's not just he like, can you just leave me the fuck alone? Like Rhea, he's mostly just annoyed by being like, get away from me. I did not invite you.
Yeah.
What? Like his judgment is almost conditional, it feels like. It feels like he doesn't put effort into judging you until you have pissed him off.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Definitely. Sign that. Actually, this is a lot of points. So, if there was something you want to bring up first, or Brayden, and you can.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
you can go.
That's
So, like, you're talking about how like like they're not actually trying to be just offensive in general. They're trying to be funny, and they're trying to the writers of the film are trying to be funny, and like even the characters, they're like they're not actually like prejudiced against these people. They're just using it in a different way, and I think
or even if they
think,
even when they are, it's like
yeah,
it's not you're not supposed to be like, oh, that's a good idea.
Mhm.
And I think one of the moments that like is quite interesting is when the doctor suddenly tries to be like a misogynistic
Yeah.
like tough guy and being like, am I gonna have to smack a bitch? Like, because he's trying to like act like a pimp. I think he's like he's supposed to be a pimp,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, as well. And so he's trying to like act like a traditional like pimp and be like, oh, that's you. And Chocolate Bully does not even look. She's like, really, like it almost feels like she is like humoring
facade.
that.
Yeah.
He did not take that seriously. So I think that's quite interesting. We're like that doesn't make what he did okay, but the fact that everyone else sees him as so venomless is funny, if that makes sense. Like
definitely.
what's funny isn't the fact that he's being misogynist. It's funny is that he's trying to be such a tough guy and failing, and it's really obvious.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. But like the point I was trying to make is like so this film, it has offensive things in it, but it's not actually trying to be offensive, and that's and I think that's that's a very important point. That I think is the case with a lot of films from the early 2000s. Like that's why sign like this works. Whereas as films that come out these days, is where they're particularly trying to be offensive, it just comes off as cringe.
It comes off try hard.
Yeah.
Well,
exactly.
also another thing is that like with the character of Chev, he was supposed to be American, and then of course he's only British because of Jason Statham. But like he has because of his entire life he's been a troublemaker, and he's he's an assassin, he's a criminal, he's all this other stuff. Whenever he does stuff that's not that's offensive or like whatever, it's like he sells it in a way where like, oh no, it's natural for him because he's not trying to earn attention like some offensive comedic characters would be.
Yeah, you get the vibe. This isn't for attention. This isn't to act like this isn't to like draw like it often feels in his context like he's using a tool. Like he's using what he's doing as a tool to either help himself up his heart rate or whatever, or get under the skin of the people that he hates. You know what I mean? And is fighting against. That doesn't make what he says okay. And the film also doesn't want you to think it's okay.
Definitely.
Like they're not trying to be like, this is actually good and you should say this. That's not what they're doing.
And I think that's such an important thing, or anything, because like it annoys me so much on comedians that are like, oh, you can't be offensive these days. Well, why are you trying to be? That's not actual good humor.
You can't say anything these days.
Like these people are so annoyed to me when they say things like that. It's like they think that that stuff back in the 2000s was trying to be offensive.
It
No,
just
it
wasn't.
wasn't. It was
Sometimes it
just
was, but not
sometimes.
all of it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
well
but
yes, there's absolutely films that are trying to be offensive, like Borat, and I hate that film.
But it
To be
wasn't
honest,
like the
but it's not.
actual like
no, but with
zeitgeist that
Crank,
people think it was.
no, but
It's
with
not
Crank,
it's not this thing where all comedy in the 2000s was trying to be offensive. No, it just sometimes happened to people
It
find it offensive.
or
no,
like
it's
it was ignorant or aged
Yeah,
poorly, you know
exactly,
what I mean?
exactly.
Or like
Uh,
and so yeah, there is a difference between not realizing something is offensive genuinely when you do it and intentionally knowing it and trying to do it
exactly.
because you want to be. And then the weird thing that he's doing in Crank where he knows it's wrong, doesn't really vibe with it personally, it seems like all the time, but also knows how powerful of a tool it can be and uses it to its
Mhm.
advantage. Almost like in a way, it kind of reminds me of like Remick in Sinners, where he's like, "Oh, I'm
Mhm.
not racist, but I'm gonna use this system to my
Yeah,
advantage and target the people that no one will notice or gone." Is he's
I
still
just think
benefiting
that's
from it?
I just think that such an interesting thing and like a sign that I've been thinking about ever since the new Scream movies trailer not Scream
scary movie.
Scary Movies trailer came out, and like all the things that Marlon Wayne has said about it. I'm like that. I don't think I never felt when I was watching the original Scary Movie like they were actually trying to be offensive. I felt like they were trying
What?
to be funny, but they were
Okay,
like would
Kira, you
come
haven't.
off
Okay,
as offensive.
John. For context, Kira hasn't seen any of them, any of the
Oh,
scary movies.
That's not
So
true. What are you talking about? I've seen a lot of the scary movies.
you told me you didn't see
uh,
them.
No, I haven't seen all of the Screams.
No,
yeah,
not Scream.
yeah,
Scary movies. It's a
No,
yeah,
parody
I
film.
have
yeah.
seen I
So
haven't seen all of them, but I have seen a lot of them, especially the first few.
Okay,
so
well, base. Okay,
But
when
like it's just kind of funny because like I maybe it's like, but like there were a lot of things where like no, they were trying to be edgy and offensive,
I
but
think
I think there's a difference between trying to like be edgy and offensive back then, even if it was intentional, and the way it is now because of the way there is now like this cultural
yeah,
narrative and constant discourse because we didn't
that makes sense.
that wasn't like it wasn't in like the online era where like basically the stuff they were making fun of or poking fun of or wanted to be like offensive or even just skirt the line and be edgy,
Mhm.
that stuff it wouldn't the site the not the cycle wasn't as fast. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
There wasn't so much stuff that could be considered discoursey or offensive happening all at the same time, I guess, in a way. And so it was more they were like focused on like it felt like they were more focused on like a few things. Whereas I haven't seen the new trailer of the new scary movie yet, but I have heard people saying that one of their issues with it, like offense aside, is they feel like there's too much going on.
Mhm.
They feel like they're trying to bite off more than they can chew because they're trying to have an answer or a parody of everything that they
Yeah.
think is like the like culture just
Yeah.
cultural conversations, and people are like maybe this should have been less. I've heard that. I haven't seen the trailer yet myself though, but I'd be interested in watching it after we're
Mhm.
done here.
Yeah. But I understand they were absolutely like jokes in the originals where they were trying to be edgy, but their main thing was trying to be funny.
Yeah.
Versus it feels like with this new one and Marlon Wayne has literally said this, they are they're mainly trying to be offensive and trying to offend everyone. And
See,
I'm like,
that is
that's not the same thing.
yeah, and I think you're right. And I think I think how I would phrase that, and again, I think this is like a combination of what I said and what you're saying. What's interesting is back then it was like, okay, we're doing edgy jokes to make up people like shock value to make people laugh, to fill the seats and make people laugh. You know what I mean? Even if
Mm-hmm.
it's not something they probably might not, they maybe shouldn't laugh at, they're laughing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But that feels different than now because of the media landscape, because of how everything works now. It feels like now it's not even about making people actually watching the movie at all anymore. It's about offending the people who are reading about it online. That seems to be where the focus is,
Mm-hmm.
offending everybody online who haven't even watched the movie themselves. That's weird to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like
Like, yeah, they
he
were trying to be like
his
edgy and
like
offensive, but it
exactly
was for the audience.
what he said in like the interviews was particularly like he wants to bring comedy back to what it used to be, and he thinks the only way to do that is to be
It's not
as
possible.
offensive as possible. I'm like,
That's
but that's
okay.
not what. That's not really what. At least not to me. What comedy felt like in the 2000s. It felt like the main thing was trying to actually be funny.
Yeah, or even if it was like a shock value edgy bit, it was to make you laugh versus
Yeah.
intentionally being a rage bait to
Exactly.
to make people rage out online and get engagement through the free marketing of having people talk shit about your movie. That is unfortunately the meta now for some people. And that I do agree is an issue. Like the reason I like the reason I like kind of like was confused for a minute because I was like, no, the original movies were definitely trying to be offensive, but I do think you're right that who they were trying to like why they were doing it and who it was for is different. Like now they like it used to be for the audience watching it to make them laugh, even if it was a nervous laughter or shock. You know what I mean?
I think
Now
it
it's
used to
it's
be
to
like
piss off
them.
everybody online.
I think it used to be they weren't limiting themselves of in the hopes of being able to be as creative as possible with jokes
Yeah.
versus now it's just trying to be as offensive as possible.
Yeah, like there would be offensive jokes, but not every joke would be edgy or offensive.
Yeah.
The edgy and offensive jokes would be strung together with other bits and
even like
crazy skits. Like literally one of my favorite scary movie moments is when he rolls is when a giant joint comes to life and rolls the stoner up in a joint and starts smoking the stoner. That's such a dumb gag. It's so fucking funny and it's not offensive. You know what I mean?
My favorite,
just a dumb
favorite
gag.
thing from the scary movies, a franchise, I signed. I don't think anybody would find offensive, which is like
Cindy, it's Bones.
The what's up phone calls.
Yeah, or like the skeleton, like Cindy, it's Bones. This is Bones. They beat up a skeleton. Those are all great things.
Or like
they're parodying the genre instead of just trying to piss off people.
Or like Ghostface getting having to run down the stairs as there's a piano behind him.
Yeah, there was aspects that were also about parodying the genre and and not just about being offensive. So I do think that the balance has probably shifted. That now they're not even thinking. Like I'm worried, how much are they actually thinking about what's a funny parody versus what's an offensive parody? Yeah. Like that is probably something I'm wondering about. What are your thoughts, Brayden? You've been quiet for a second. Well, we talked about the scream. I forgot that I watched them in the past, but like on my ADHD right now, I'm like fully with my memory problems. I might have forgotten before I got on like my meds, but now with my meds in me, I'm like, no, I've seen those.
No, because when I asked you about it, it could also be a genuine question of you probably thought I was asking you about Scream when I said scary movie.
I could have got them mixed up.
So when you said no,
a lot of people do.
No, because when you said no, I was kind of like, oh, so yeah, I've seen them. That'd be cool to show you one day. I was like, oh, so you have seen them. I was like,
I haven't seen all of them. I've seen the first 4.
No, but even when you told me you saw the superhero movie parody, I was like, you saw that? Because I didn't saw that, but I didn't think you saw that.
This is the thing where like my problem with my memory is not like the memories themselves will be good, but my ability to get them and recall them, especially when I'm off ADHD, is so hard that someone can ask me something and I can't find the memory. And so I'm like, I guess not. I don't think so. And then I'll be on my meds and be like, I can immediately find the memories and be like, I've definitely seen that. So I'm like, I'm sorry if I unintentionally lied because I fully couldn't remember.
No. Well, I mean, in retrospect, I remember you using GIFs and memes for scary movies. I just assume you like to use stuff from movies you haven't seen, like reaction memes.
No, I've definitely seen like the first few scary movies, not like in a long time, but there are a lot of things I remember, like I love Brenda and Cindy, and I remember and I like the stoner guy, and the thing that I remember the most is like. The first movie is very memorable with like the little hand, you know what I mean? Or is that the second movie? The second movie is the one I remember the most. The second movie I think is the one I've seen the most that I like the most. Because the second movie is the one where I know the second movie is the one where the stoner gets rolled up by the giant weed and smokes it. I know it's such a dumb joke. It makes me laugh every fucking time. But like the third and fourth one I don't remember as well. I think there was a Grudge parody in those. There was like
wasn't there the third one?
So the third one has a Grudge parody. I think I've definitely like at least seen the third one, but not often, as often as the first and second.
Yeah.
And I think I saw the superhero movie like once, but I would like to watch I would love to watch all those again.
Oh, yeah.
Even if they have offensive humor because there's still parts of them that are like good.
It's a time capsule of the 2000s.
I think
But it is concerning where it's like, have they acted? And like when he says, "Oh, we have to make comedy like it used to be," I'm sorry, that's not possible. You
yeah,
cannot turn back time.
yeah.
Also,
I
we
remember.
we are different people. Different things have happened. We have different senses of humor. There are different styles of jokes now. Sorry, get the fuck over it and live
Uh,
in the
you
moment. Live
know,
in reality. Stop trying to relive 30 fucking years ago when you can't. Just
you
get
know, it
over
reminds
it.
me. It reminds me of this quote that
I
from Seth Rogen
just got like
20
so
years
mad all of
ago.
a sudden.
That I love of where he said where someone asked him about how he feels about um uh, comedy being
I think
offensive and all
comedy is
that,
funnier than
and
ever.
he said he said that if a comedian cannot adapt with the times, they are not
Yes.
a good comedian.
Exactly. No, literally. And he is actually such good proof of that. Like he's not perfect. He's made mistakes in the past.
Yeah.
But right now, he's genuinely has adapted so well. He's genuinely quite funny. I've heard
Oh
like I've
yeah.
seen clips of I haven't seen it all, but I've seen clips of the studio. I've heard people talk about it. They're like, this is the funniest Seth Rogen has ever
Hmm.
been to me. And it's because he's doing a different type of humor than he usually does. You know what I mean? He's doing a type of like a little bit more of a satire of Hollywood, you know what I mean? Instead of just being like raunchy, like straight, just like dumb stoner
Oh yeah.
humor. And don't get me wrong, I love dumb stoner humor. I'm going to show you both Nights of Bad Aston, which is very much a
Hmm.
combination of like D&D nerd humor and raunchy stoner humor.
Sounds awesome.
It's all no, you'll love it. You'll
Yeah.
love it.
Oh,
But like it's one of those things where like I can appreciate both, but if you can only do one and you can't even adapt that genre for what we now currently think is funny, because here's the thing, a quote unquote offensive shock value comedy is still funny if you know how to do it right. If you know how to
oh yeah.
make the thing that you're laughing at
Yeah.
not punching down. You can still talk about like like shocking and offensive stuff in like in a way where it has shock value
Mm.
without being an asshole. Like Jean-Marc Racy does a good job. You know what I mean? And I was just talking to Brayden about this the other day where he made a joke like yesterday that some people like didn't understand because they're reading it through a tweet and they're not hearing it on stage, and so they were like and also people like intentionally want to misinterpret stuff.
Mhm.
He made a joke that was like the problem with AI porn is the best part of porn is the moment where you can tell everybody regrets being there, which is like, and for one
Mm.
thing, so fucking funny. And like, but very much the joke that he, especially if you know his comedy style, the joke he's making is against people who think that as long as it's not AI, there's never going to be a problem. Because there's some people who are like that,
Mhm.
like, oh well, this thing I did is it doesn't have any AI in it, so it's perfectly ethical. And it's like you just bombed someone, huh?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and so he was like poking fun at like people who like will watch questionable porn because like there is some porn that's like questionable because you're like I
Yeah.
don't know who made this or how consenting the people are in it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like that's like a problem in the in the porn space. And but then people will be like, oh, AI porn is worse than that, and it's like I don't know if it is. They're both bad. So like that's obviously what he's poking
Mhm.
fun at. But then some people who very much didn't know don't know who he is, don't have context, are reading it as text and are maybe like trying to be upset. We're like, wow, I can't believe a man would make a joke like this about like
Mhm.
women suffering. And it's like, one for one thing, women weren't actually mentioned in this tweet.
It,
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, because yes, it is like a mainly a woman's issue, but it's like, it's something where like someone can make a joke about something that's like a serious topic in a way where if you are in the know and you are part of the audience that understands what's going on, you understand the thing you're laughing
Mhm.
at is not the victim. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's
Yeah.
the
Exactly.
like you're like and he does that really really well, and I've even been to his shows, you know what I mean? And like he's like a pro-Palestine Jew who like makes like really good jokes about his own like Jewishness that aren't like that like are he can make a Holocaust joke that is funny without being offensive. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's hard to
Like,
do, but I'm
and
so
like the thing
annoyed by these
and
people
the
who were like, I can't say anything. And I'm like, no, you're
with
just
like
not smart.
oh yeah, like these the the big thing and a lot of these comedians fail to understand
Mhm.
is that the most important thing is who you are pointing the butt of the joke
Yeah,
at, and
what's the joke?
if you're pointing the butt of the joke at the victim, that's a problem. Versus
Mhm.
if you're pointing the butt of the joke at the perpetrator,
At the
and
thing that's happening.
you're trying to piss off the person person who did the bad thing,
or like
that is funny.
yeah,
I like that's the reason why
or
Trump
even just like discuss the hypocrisy of it. Like what I like
like
about Crank is it feels like the joke is not on any of the people that are getting harmed. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Exactly. It feels like the joke is that he is such a force of destruction.
Yeah.
That is, you know what I mean? Like
Oh
that
yeah.
is so ridiculous. It's the absurdity
Yeah.
of that that's funny. Not, oh, look, like it's so funny to ruin everyone's lives. No, it's funny that it's that this is something that's happening that he can't stop
Mhm.
himself. That like it's funny that this even happened because it's absurd. It's like it's
Oh
because
yeah.
one of the aspects of comedy is like an is like kind of a shock value of like I can't believe this is happening. We kind of like have a humor response to that. It doesn't
Mhm.
necessarily mean like oh it's a good thing this is happening. It's like I just can't like I this is ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Good or bad, this can just be ridiculous.
Yeah. Like yeah, the reason though that I like actually like brought up this this idea of whether like films were made to be offensive back then or not
Hmm.
I
It's an interesting question.
is because I was looking at a quote that the that one of the directors of this made about making a third film. He said and this he said that
It would be rough to make it
Yeah.
now.
he's not sure or how he would make it in this current time. I'm and he doesn't want to give audiences a toned down version of it. It and I think that
Like
that is like actually an understandable take.
yeah,
And I wonder and like Brayden was talking the other day about like how this apparently there may have been a falling out between the two directors
Okay,
because
so
as one
hmm,
of the directors is married a MAGA woman, and
yikes.
and the one that made this quote was not the one that one who married the
Hmm.
MAGA woman, and I think that that kind of tells me that it might be true. Maybe he wants to make a sequel that is as offensive as possible, versus this guy's like I want to make a sequel, but I want to find a way to make it where it's not just trying to be offensive,
For
but
the
it
sake of it.
still feels as extreme and crazy.
Because it would be hard these days. Also, because like I said, the media environment, the way we talk about things now, because you could make it in the exact same tone you made the first two, where it's very much making fun of like these podcast red pill guys and these MAGA guys making fun of them and like they're the butt of the joke. But the thing is, those people don't see that anymore. They intentionally convince themselves they're not the butt of the joke. This is actually about how cool they are, no matter what the
Mm-hmm.
actual canon says, and then use it as propaganda. That's an
Yeah.
issue. Like we have so much of that issue now.
Mm-hmm. I think though you could do a sequel in this current time because like the actual like offensive things things in this like the racism the homophobic jokes and the misogyny to a point like those are not why these films are as great as they are, and I don't think most people would say that those are why it's as great as they are. The main thing why people love these is it's funny, it's funny, it's sexy, and it is action packed, and you can still do funny,
Hmm.
sexy, and action packed today.
Yeah, you can do that, but like I think people just worry.
Oh, like I do think that you could absolutely like I do that at this time, and you can still make it super crazy and not include those offensive things,
Hmm.
and people would still enjoy it because like the main thing they're coming for isn't actually those things.
I feel like there is a way to do it, but it might also be an IP property thing. Because Brayden,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Can you tell us more about what's going on there? Because maybe they both have rights to it and they couldn't do it without each
That
other.
makes
And
sense.
if they're not in the best, or like they wouldn't want to do it without each other because that would just not be the same. And so if they're not in a space where they feel creatively aligned, even if they're not necessarily like beefing, if they don't feel creatively aligned, that could be an issue just there. You know what I mean?
okay, so basically, Mark Novotny and Brian Teller, when they wrote the script, because
Hmm.
they were doing a bunch of music video stuff and like, commercials, and they wrote the script together, and were like, no, let's let's just so they when they wrote it on the purpose of like we don't think anyone's gonna make this. So when like Lionsgate, well, like Lakeshore Entertainment, like one of those, when they got it, there was like this is affordable. It can be done. You can film in LA. Just get a famous
Mhm.
actor to agree to play Chev. We can let you guys do this.
Yeah, because you're
So
doing it on location. You don't
yeah,
have a huge amount of camera stuff and technical stuff because you're doing it so like shaky cam style usually.
Mhm.
So it's like that's a pretty cheap project.
so when Jason Statham signed on, and they did the first film, which was a surprise hit because it had a small budget of like 7 million,
Mhm.
and they made 42 million at the box
Did
office. And
really well with that.
no,
That's
no,
like a
yeah.
really good use of
So
that money.
so when they were talking to them, and Lionsgate optioned the script that would become their film Gamer,
Hmm.
with Gerard Butler. Around that time, they were like, "We want you guys to do a Crank too, but we know he's dead. But like, you guys got any ideas on what you guys could do if Jason Statham was in the mood
You
to come
can do
back?"
really anything if you want.
So then they were like, "Okay, if we're gonna do a sequel and resurrect him, we gotta make it batshit insane."
Yeah.
And Jason was like, "Fine, well, cool." So then they did the second film. The second film did money, but it wasn't as big because it was 2009 was a very packed year, and
It really was. 2008, 2009 went crazy.
no, no, yeah. So it did well, and then they were talking to them about doing a third film, and
Mhm.
then Jason got busy, and then the two guys got busy, and then they're going back and forth. And then over the past couple of years, they were like, okay, this is the studio Lionsgate, which kind of owns like the majority rights. We're
Mhm.
like, we want you guys to do Crank 3D or Crank 3, whatever the hell you
Wait,
guys want.
Prank
Yeah,
3D would be so good.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that'd be
As,
fun.
no, but with the new 3D technology that James Cameron paid to innovate for the Avatar Fire and Ash movie that no longer causes eye strain and looks better, that would actually be more doable because 3D fell out of fashion because people were like, this give me a headache. Now it doesn't do
So
that anymore.
no,
Now,
so it's
how
like
expensive is that technology though? Would they be able to afford that for a great film?
Well, no, the thing is the technology isn't I don't think it's very expensive because
Oh,
it's actually I hear it's a simpler process than how they used to do
oh.
3D. It just the thing that cost money was the research.
Mhm.
But that's already been done. Does that make sense?
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah.
Like
makes
we
There
sense.
was
already have the technology. That part is already been paid for.
Mhm.
Yeah. So since there's been like a lot of talks now. Mark Neville and Brian Taylor, they did the second Nicolas Cage Ghost Rider
Hmm.
movie, Spirit of Vengeance, which had Idris Elba in it. And
Hmm.
then around that time, Idris Elba, he kind of joked, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be the villain in Crank 3." And then Jason was like, "Bet," because Jason's like, "I love you," but then they were
That'd be
like,
fun.
"No,
Oh
right
yeah.
now in the Hobbs and Shaw movie." Idris Elba plays a cyborg villain that The
I
Rock and
still
Jason
haven't
Statham fight.
seen that, and I need to because I ship those two so bad. I was watching the
I
other
know
Fast and Furious movies, and I was like, they need to make these two a couple, and then they gave them a spin-off, and my fake shipper ass hasn't watched it. I'm a fake fan.
No, no, I love that movie a lot, and I know you would like it too. But no, the reason why Idris Elba was in that movie with The Rock and Statham was again
Hmm.
they've all been friends for each other for years, but they never did a film together. And
Hmm.
that was the first film they did together. And Statham and Idris Elba was genuinely like, no, I want to be in a Crank film with Jason because I think it would
Hmm.
be fun for the both of us. And
He's
then
absolutely Orlando's uncle.
yeah,
Like, it just makes sense.
yeah, no, no, right. But then that was the only real like serious thing. And then remember Jason Statham, he did some interviews. And also now obviously Jason Statham, he's been in like big franchises like Fast and Furious, other stuff. And like he's very, very popular. And he says the only thing that the producers and Lionsgate is concerned about is a profitability. Because they're like, we don't know how many people will come back, but they also want to
Hmm.
ask the budget. Like what is your budget for this? Because it was like, if you guys can get more insane, you guys the money will be up. And also with COVID, post COVID, everything's more expensive now. Like you can't just film things as cheaply as you used to. So
Yeah.
so a Crank 3 can happen. I remember there was even a rumor at one point. I wouldn't be shocked. Lionsgate was considering, with their permission, doing either a Crank TV show or a TV show in that style, like R-rated for streaming.
That'd
They
be
could have
cool.
it not be about Chev and be about one of the other characters or someone else in that universe and just have it be in
Mhm.
that universe and be in that style and it'd be good.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
Like
especially this,
I
with
like
this,
And
with
then
this,
you could do a movie anytime you wanted or whatever or something
yeah.
or crossover event if Jason wanted to show up.
Like I said, Ed, I would love the a third film being about Eve. Eve
Hmm.
Amy Smart
Let's
is
start a
mainly
petition.
a TV actor, so
Can we start a petition?
that would work well.
Starting a petition to make an Eve-centric miniseries.
Uh,
Like for real. I think that'd
no,
be
no, yeah,
good.
no, no. But then also another thing, because Lionsgate, they're one of their biggest franchises besides the Hunger Games, is the John Wick films, and they've been having a huge blast with that. Those are
Which
R-rated
like
action
aren't
films.
Yeah, which are obviously aren't the same, but they have a similar genre and vibe. They appeal
And
to
the
a lot of the
last
same crowd.
And then because of how much money the John Wick films made, the most recent John Wick movie had a budget of like $100 million. It still made
Goddamn.
400 million worldwide, right? So
Yeah.
some people are kind of like they're
Jesus.
fine with the money for R-rated action movies, and
Hmm.
not, and even some people went. Not gonna lie, if Lionsgate wanted to cross over Jason Statham's
Mm.
Chev with John
Whoa.
Wick or another
Whoa.
universe,
That'd be cool.
you
Whoa,
might like
wait. That's actually really good.
Oh,
Hold
because like
on. Hold
yeah.
on. We have to write this pilot. Hold on, everyone.
Yeah,
Get your pens out.
another idea that I have for a third film, which I've told Brian about, is like a if they want to go even crazier than these first two films, what they could maybe do is like make a Chev be a strapped into a VR headset, and like he has to like go through a bunch of like crazy worlds to get out. Like they could have him go into a sci-fi based world,
They're gonna Ruby
a
Volume 9 him.
fantasy world, a superhero world, all these different things. And he has to like make it out of each of these different worlds alive, to get to be able to get out of the virtual reality device. I think could also be another cool way they could do a third film.
That would be very gamers coded. So
I
oh, yeah.
I haven't
Which
actually
I'm not
seen
saying that.
Gamer.
no you
Gamer.
no
I
Now you
Craig,
have
really
to.
want to
no
watch
John
that
no John
sometime.
trust me.
It's good.
Gamer is like a future sibling of Crank.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like if you took the Crank universe and fast forward it a few hundred years
Makes sense.
Yeah.
That's cool.
with the
But
same
yeah,
tone of like, but like a more extreme Orwellian like apocalyptic level.
Yeah, because basically in Gamer, it's basically like okay, this rich CEO guy creates a mind control virus, but he uses it for like a Hunger Games type show where prisoners kill each other, and they're mind controlled by real people who play them like video game characters.
Usually teenage
And
boys.
well, yeah, and there's like again like Crank, there's a lot of tits, a lot of vulgar stuff, a lot of dialogue, a lot of like and like what's funny is with
so
Gamer and Crank, they're both about there is a story, like there is characters, there is a
I
plot,
want to
there's
rewatch Gamer because it's actually been a minute, and I think I might appreciate it more now.
yeah, no,
yeah,
trust me, they're so connected.
yeah, we
Like
should
it's
definitely try
Because
to watch Gamer together or
because
sometime.
what it did always strike me as interesting about Gamer is it feels like it's not necessarily saying video games cause violence. Like examining the relationship between the specific types of games and what they are like and who controls them and who makes them and
Mhm.
what pipeline they benefit and who they're feeding them to. Because it's more of like a commentary on how like it's specifically stuff like it's very reminiscent of stuff like Call of Duty. You know what I mean? Where that is the most blatant like fascist military propaganda on the planet and everyone knows it. And so like it's not that video games cause violence, it's that media in general, video games, movies, TV, books can propagandize certain people if it's written in a certain way to
Oh
think
yeah.
certain things are okay, you know what I mean?
Oh
And
yeah.
so it's more about like the idea of like the pipeline of teenage boys being really into Call of Duty who then get directly like groomed through Call of Duty and its relationship with the US military into signing up for the US military. Like that's a real thing that's been studied, and it's not the same
Mhm.
as like, oh, all video games cause violence. No, we figured out it's
Yeah,
more
I
about the
think
context. Like
yeah, definitely. There's definitely context.
no one's playing Mass Effect and being like, I gotta become an astronaut so I can shoot people in
Yeah.
space. No one's doing that.
I think like very much like a dialogue influences a lot more than like
Yeah,
physical
I
things on
agree.
screen. And I say that
The
because like
storytelling, yes,
because physical things on screen, those are fake.
and they can
Dialogue
happen in any
is
context.
real. Dialogue is
Yeah,
real. And I think the human mind is pretty
more.
good at
Yeah,
being able to tell things are fake, and not get like nearly as like pulled
there are
into like the idea with because of them.
there are certain things that our brain has been scientifically proven that it doesn't really consider different than if it's happening for real. like which is like, and that's usually based more in like things that are more relatable to our everyday life, like the characters and like the setting and stuff, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Whereas the stimuli of like the actions you're doing in a game, like am I climbing a wall, am I shooting a gun, if you've never really shot a gun, that's not something that you're
Yeah.
as easily associating, you know what I mean? But if you talk to people every day, talking to people in a game is easier to have a harder time for your brain to distinct. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Like, because that's something you already are doing, if that
Yeah.
makes, like, that's already normal to you. So it's easy for that to slip into the normal side of your brain, if that makes sense. And still, it's not automatic, but it's one of those things where and it's all this military propaganda is something that I feel like is very like commented on in gamers, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So again, it feels like an intentional commentary, like a satirical commentary on society, like, and so I feel like that is definitely why I even if I like Crank more than Gamer, but we'll have to rewatch Gamer to be sure.
Mhm.
I do like their directing, you know what I mean? Even if a lot of people might not like it,
The directing is unique, yeah.
Oh yeah.
because the directing is really unique, and also they're the way they make these stories about that feel so like the male gaze and like the society's like patriarchal military industrial prison complex is kind of being, and the violence in society is kind of being like satirized instead of
Mhm.
glorified. Even if it's really cool action shit, it still doesn't feel good in the way that glorification does, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No,
Totally.
I never felt like, trust me, all the times when they show like, like even when they sexualize the women or sexualize or like to show like the bloody or
You
whatever
kind of
thing.
feel gross, but
No,
like
no,
in an entertaining way.
I don't think they're being like, oh, we approve this happening in real life. I never got that vibe. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Which, and I get that vibe from other creators a lot when they try to do this and fail.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's actually quite impressive. They manage to sell that it's a more complex than just doing it for the sake of doing it. There's more going on, especially in stuff like Gamer, where some of the problems with gamers that people have is it almost feels like it's too much in your face with its political commentary.
But
You know
for
what I mean?
2009,
Which,
like in the
It,
post,
it-
like
it's impressive for 2009, yes.
no,
which,
but like even then, like I'm not gonna like look at how the 2000s was in the during the Bush era, then leading
Hmm.
into the start of Obama's administration.
It's
Just how things
low-key
wasn't
kind of a woke movie if you think
no, no,
about
no.
it.
But
like,
with how things was in the 2000s in
Mhm.
pop culture on film and TV,
Yeah.
nothing was subtle. Like nothing,
Yeah,
even
no.
lighthearted stuff was in
uh,
your face.
True.
honestly, I personally rather when it's in your face, because I don't want political satires to get co-opted
Yeah,
by these
yeah.
pieces of shit and then being like, yeah, this is cool. I'm like,
The
no,
problem that
I
seems
don't. And like
present though.
when a show movie or show feels like it's feels like that, like they could enjoy it and like it, like the things happening in it. I don't enjoy that. Enjoy it as much. I enjoy it so much more when I'm like yeah, they're gonna get pissed at this.
Yeah, I agree. But also, it's one of those things where at this point, they're so willfully ignorant and not living in reality. They will look at the most in your face thing from someone saying, "We don't like you, we hate you, your ideas are wrong." And they'll somehow take it as confirmation their ideas are valid and then spread that idea that it's actually
Mhm.
agreeing with them as like and even if they don't really believe it, that's how they spread a rhetoric that like, no, this is actually about us, which is like a
Mhm.
propaganda tactic. And it's just that it's at that point where I at this point I can no longer like I guess I'm a little bit less lenient about that now because it's like, well, at this point they think everything's for them. It's hard to, you know what I mean? But like I agree with you, but it is wild that at this point they truly think everything is for them. A
Yeah.
random little tidbit. I was thinking about this. Chev, the scene where we got a cut to his backstory, him as a kid, with
Yeah.
his mom taking him on like a talk show to talk like a Dr. Phil ass talk show to talk about all his issues and like in front of the whole world. Is that giving Twisted Metal to anyone else? The show?
Oh
I
yeah,
feel
yeah,
like
no.
Twisted Metal took inspiration from Crank in a lot of
Oh no, I
ways. The
did.
show.
No,
But
it
I
did.
can definitely see that.
that is that feels like a direct reference
Yeah,
to Crank because
that
I that
yeah.
is not a scene I've seen in other stuff.
Twisted
No.
Metal
There
is
was there was a
is you can go first.
Yes, Brayden?
no. One of the directors was attached to Twisted Metal when back when it was
Oh,
going to be a movie. So like
Oh,
no, but not
there's
just that.
definitely some inspiration there.
No, but not just that. Like when it comes to okay, like the amount besides GTA, Twisted Metal the game was
Yes,
also an inspiration
yes,
for
yes,
the movie, and
for
also
sure.
Fast, but also Fast and Furious because one of the funniest jokes in two, Johnny Vang he drives a fake ass version of Brian's car from Too Fast and Furious. It's the same colors, silver and blue.
Wait, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and when you look back,
That's funny.
he has the same car that Brian has at the opening of Too
That's
Fast and
funny.
Furious. Yeah,
No,
It's
Twisted
like a
Metal though
feedback loop.
yeah.
is I was talking about earlier how I think you can absolutely make a crank in this time,
Yeah,
because the biggest thing that people are wanting are going to want is funny, a sexy, and action,
and a little bit of shock value.
the Twisted Metal show is a perfect example of how you can do that at all. Like there's so much funny stuff, so much sexy stuff in that in the and so much action, but it never feels like it's like it is punching down. It never
Yeah,
feels like it's trying to
or
be
really
offensive.
lecturing. It doesn't feel like it's punching down or trying to lecture down. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Because
it's like
sometimes, even if something means well, people can feel like, okay, I feel like I'm being condescended to. You know what I mean? And so that can turn an audience off sometimes. But
hmm,
Twisted Metal, it is also has the shock value and kind of like, unexpectedness, absurdity, raunchiness at times where like stuff happens that's like not okay, but like you're not supposed to think it's like okay, especially not in our
yeah,
normal context. You
exactly.
know what I mean? Or like they're in very specific circumstances. So it's like it has that intensity to it, but without being like heartless and intentionally cruel. Like most of our characters, ironically, even the crazy serial killer clown is actually not like even he's definitely like the most like stereotypical of like how like media portrays like a mentally ill villain, you know what I mean? But at
Hmm.
the same time, he feels a little bit more nuanced than that because it feels like a lot of it wasn't just that he was born with mental illness, like they did that flashback scene. It was that he was in an environment that was making it so much worse and was not providing him with the tools he needed to cope. Because like that's a lot. Because like the nuance there is like a lot of like stuff is like, oh, if you have mental illness, you're automatically evil. When it's like, no, if someone is gonna cause harm related to their mental illness, it's usually not a direct corollary. It's because they have suffered and like had and not been given the tools to like succeed, you know what I mean? Which like doesn't necessarily make it okay, but it's not like you're just born evil, you know what I mean? That's not really a thing.
Yeah.
So it's like so it's very much that like they did not know how to deal with a kid with these issues and made it so much worse, you know what I mean? And the world
Hmm.
it almost feels like the world catered itself to making him the way it is. You know what I mean? Like the world like was set up in a way where it's like, of course this would happen, but and like it doesn't necessarily make it okay. But you're also like, I guess this makes sense. You know what I mean? But with Sweet Tooth, it's an interesting contrast to the Chev like childhood scene because Chev's childhood scene he doesn't like kill an animal at the end of the scene or whatever. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
'Cause they like heighten it in Twisted Metal to something that's even more like that's quote unquote offensive and shocking, but in a way where like they don't even necessarily like it. They mostly just like show it as a character moment, not just like, haha, look what we did. It's more like, look what this kid has been driven to.
Yeah.
Look what's going on. Look how bad they are at parenting this child with issues that they don't know how to handle. This would
Hmm.
not happen. Like it's very much like this wouldn't have happened if he was in a better scenario. You know what I mean? Like it's not nature, it's also nurture, you know? So I think that they do a good job with that to make it less offensive of like an archetype in Twisted Metal,
Hmm.
but still have it be like shocking and intense and like holy shit.
Yeah.
You know, he just killed an animal. But with the Chev scene, it felt more like showing that he's always felt listless. You know what I mean? He's always felt rest. He very much has obviously has ADHD, let's be real.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like he again also didn't clearly didn't have a good environment. Like his mom, her solution is to take him onto this fucking show.
Well, even in the
What the hell are
first,
you doing?
no, even in the first one, when he's listening in the elevator and he hears his mom's voice, and then one that he says, "I'm glad I left you at 16. I wasn't happy, mom. Like, like
No,
you were never there for me. You weren't."
she clearly was selfish and did not
Hmm.
know how to parent her child. and then was shocked when he acted out because she wasn't actually like being there emotionally for him and was just using him. She just saw him as like a property. She's a parent who sees her kid as property and it's like, why is my pet acting out? You know what I mean? And so she like takes him onto a show, mostly just obviously so that she could get attention, so that she could get camera time, so she could get film time. Because look how dressed up she was when she went on that show. It's
Yeah.
like it's clearly more about her than him. And so it makes sense, his whole childhood, nothing was ever about him. And you know what I mean? That doesn't give a kid good moral framework. It doesn't give them good emotional moral framework on the decisions they should make and how they should affect people. You know what I mean? So it's like obviously that doesn't automatically mean you're going to become an assassin, but like having such an unstable, emotionally neglectful childhood where no matter what you did for attention, the only attention you got was being exposed to millions of people for your mom's benefit. You know what I mean? Like or like fights, like that kind of thing. You can see how that leads to being someone who like doesn't make good decisions. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And being someone who doesn't make good decisions or like doesn't make decisions that are necessarily like socially minded or, you know, necessarily moral in the way everyone else does, might end up becoming a hired killer because they're like
Mhm.
because the way they care about like yeah, he has morals and emotions, but they're just not aligned with everybody else's. You know what I mean? Like he has his own idea of like again, when things go when he kills someone that he didn't necessarily want to kill, he's mostly just kind of annoyed. He's like, oh, that sucks. As opposed to being like broken up about it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And I think that's, you know, interesting because how much of that is because he's repressed so many feelings from when he was a kid and now they're like locked down so tightly. And it seems like he wanted to let him out with Eve and still struggles with that.
Mhm.
Mm. And you know, it's funny. There's even like this one, not rumor, but some people think if they ever do a Crank 3, because of how many years it's been,
Hmm.
they wouldn't be shocked if it's revealed that he and Eve has a kid that's fully grown or about to be like a teenager.
No, that would be
Because
sick.
there's this theme throughout 1 and 2 where they don't say it, but it's heavily implied that if Chev wanted to retire for Eve.
Hmm.
But at one point in Crank 2, when he's on the flashback of the childhood, he's like, you know, the TV host like, well, have you met your dad? Dad's like, I never met him. He died before I was born. And there's this constant thing where like he didn't want to like he wanted Eve like he seemed to be okay with Eve moving on if he died. But
Hmm.
I think he got irritated in 2 when he found out. He's like, wait a minute, this is the idiot you ended up with after I was dead? Like
Hmm.
that one guy with the mullet. He's like, what? He's like, I thought you
Yeah.
would be with someone nice, like someone normal. That you
Like
kept
he
like,
wanted better for her and it's like he wasn't even necessarily like he wanted better for her and she ended up in a worse position and I feel like he kind of
Yeah.
blamed himself in a way. And he was like, what the
yeah,
hell?
Mhm.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
And then
he was like, my quote unquote death was supposed to make your life better, not worse.
yeah,
You know
which is
what I
actually
mean?
one of the like it's very interesting that the sequel touches upon. So like I do think if there was a third film, it would be funny if like they
Like
do have
actually, sometimes your death or your quote unquote heroic sacrifice doesn't actually make everything magically end like a happy fairy tale
you know, it's
afterwards.
funny.
Yeah.
They actually pay off a funny joke. Like it's a great conversation. Like when he's falling, and he says all the things that
Oh
he's
my
been,
God, yes, I was
and
about to say this.
he says all the things he's been meaning to say to her but he was too much of a tough guy. He couldn't say it to her. He was
Hmm.
too afraid to say
Mhm.
it to her. So he says it right before he dies. And of course, because of the fact that he's falling from the
Yeah.
sky,
It's
is
so good.
fucking wind.
I love that.
And
And then
but it's also it's funny, but it's also a genuinely good moment of he was so in his own head in that moment of his own version of events of what he thinks was going on that he wasn't even considering how she would actually experience that or be able to hear that or
Yeah.
what would I like it's again it's that fantasy of oh after I die everything will be fine. What a lot of suicidal people have, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Yeah.
But that's just sorry, not true. That's like that's also the point of It's a Wonderful Life.
Mhm.
Like it's almost like a weird fucked up It's a Wonderful Life thing.
I mean, you know, sorry, the TV show Happy, which Neville Dean and Taylor did,
Mhm.
which has a lot of quick references to the
Mhm.
film. That is also like an R-rated, it's a one in a life type
Oh,
TV
what's that
show.
about?
Basically, okay, it's you know
I
Christopher
might want to watch
Maloney.
It
that.
is
Uh,
a crazy show.
no, so
Oh, it.
Christopher Maloney, who everyone knows as Stabler from Law and Order SVU, he's a great actor. Basically, he plays a crazy alcoholic ex-cop in that show, and then all of a sudden, the imaginary horse cartoon voiced
What?
by Patton Oswalt shows up, and it's like, hey, someone's been kidnapping all these children. You need to find them and save them. Get off your feet. And then he can see them, but then he realizes, oh my God, this imaginary horse is a spirit of the children, and it's real. It's magic. I have to listen to
The
this
big.
horse.
This
And
is like
it's
that one part of Sense8.
yeah, yeah. And then this horse helps him out. And he's like, "You're my backup. And you gotta make sure no one shoots me from behind, horse." And it's like and it's a cute little cartoon horse. And the horse is voiced by Patton Oswalt, who's disturbed by all the violence. Like, I just got you to save the kids. It's nearly Christmas. They've all been kidnapped. It's like, we're gonna get the
I
kids.
really
And
want to watch this.
we're gonna get the
Oh,
kids. Don't
it's
worry,
a great
horse.
show.
It's like, don't worry, we're gonna get the kids. But I gotta make sure to get the ammo to shoot the kidnappers. Like,
No, because
it's
this is what I like about these creators is they seem to understand that like one of the peaks of like one of the aspects of humor that can be good is just sheer absurdity
yeah.
and like the juxtaposition of two different extremes.
And there's even like some more homoerotic
Bruh,
stuff.
This is the horse of the
bruh,
show.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
There's
have to
even like
watch this.
no, there's even like more home like there's a lot of homoerotic stuff in the Neville Dina trailer films, which is funny because like they're both straight guys. But like in Happy,
Hey,
no.
if you're really comfortable in your sexuality and gender, then you can put some homoeroticism in your work and
Oh,
not have it
totally.
like because there's an aesthetic and artistic aspect of that. You know what I mean? Like even like I know people who were like, 100% like gay, not bi at all, like aren't attracted to like opposite sex at all, who still find like beauty and aesthetic value in like
Mm.
paintings and sculptures and stories of like, heterosexual couples, you know what I mean? Because there's an artistic, aspect. Like, let's be so real. Heterosexuals fucking love forbidden romance. They love it. And if they stop being so homophobic, they could just enjoy so many more queer stories about it. Just
Mhm.
shit, you know what I mean? And so it's one of those things where like you can enjoy like that sort of thing just for the sheer like artistic story aspect. Like again, like I said, so many straight people really liked Killing Eve because they were like, wait, this is just so interesting. These two women are two different opposite extremes, but they're so magnetically attracted to each other and have so much chemistry, but they're destroying each other's lives. That's just that's narratively compelling to people. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
So
And, no,
and
but like
and the homoeroticism is a big part of that because it's the fact that they're both women that makes part of it is like we're similar but so different at the same time.
yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but like I do think a crank film will happen one day, or even uh because even like if someone's like, oh, we're not sure if because Jason Statham, he's one of those
Mhm.
guys where like he is very much proud of like the films he does. He hasn't really talked shit about anything. And with the Crank films, he loves them, and he
It
does
seems
want to
like they
do
were
it.
fun to do.
Oh no,
Oh
no, they
yeah.
were fun. Even the behind the scenes, like the blooper reel, you can tell everyone's having a blast. I remember this one critic, John Campia, who's friends with the filmmakers. He's
This
known
sounds
them.
familiar.
No, yeah. He's very like big on YouTube. He's friends with the filmmakers, and then he supported the first film. And then at one point in the second film, which he also loved, they invited him to set, and he's like, "You just look at what you want, and then type it into your blog." So at one point, he's on the set of this, the beautiful mansion, and he paused and he turns like, "Is that the head of the
That's
villain
so funny.
on the first movie?" And he went, "Yeah, you can talk about it if you want. I
Honestly,
mean,
that's a baller move, especially back then before spoiler culture was so big. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because when you're a more like obscure thing and you have a dedicated
Mhm.
cult fan base, dropping an insane random detail like that
yeah,
is gonna just entice them more. They're like, well,
Oh
now I have
yeah.
to see how that works, how that happens. It's kind
no,
of
yeah,
Oh yeah,
like that
definitely.
can like again, that's why spoilers don't always ruin things for people. It's more about what it is and whether or not they and how much they get and what they consented to. Because it's
Mhm.
like I knew Bucky was the Winter Soldier before I went and watched it in theaters because I heard about it online. But I
yeah,
still enjoyed it because I was like, I want to see how we build up to this reveal, how everyone
Yeah.
reacts, and like it's one of the things where like once you know an endpoint, you're like, okay, well now I want to know how we get there. Like with Romeo and Juliet, it starts out telling you they die, and
yeah.
then but you still want to read the rest because you're like, well, how?
Mhm.
How could that happen? What do you mean?
Oh yeah.
Like it's
Yeah,
like
no, but
dropping a really good like cold open teaser and then being like and 3 weeks earlier.
Oh.
yeah, no, but like, and also like even with like Neville Dean and Taylor, because they started making projects separately together. The only reason why me and some others speculate about the whole, because Mark Neville Dean he married this actress who was in
Mhm.
Gamer. She's the lead of Drag Me to Hell, Allison Lohman, something like that. Her last
Something
name's
like
like
that.
that. She became a big Trump supporter a few years ago, and that's kind of like it's one of those things where, like she was already not acting that well because when she and Mark Nelson got together, they got married, had kids, so she was like a stay-at-home mom.
Mhm.
Then she became a big Trump supporter. He never talked about anything politically. And then Brian Tyler, the other guy, was very much anti-Trump. So some people went, "Oh, wait a minute, this kind of makes sense." Because like, if
Mhm.
your best friend
Awkward.
married someone of a
Oh,
different political alignment, and you're like, "Look, man, I love you, but your wife, I'm not gonna be around her. I'm not gonna be around you, and I can't
And
just
like,
ask you to divorce
yeah,
your wife." Okay,
yeah.
so
no,
I'm
because
And
even if his beliefs don't align with his wife, and this is like something that's like erupted in their relationship later, like it sounds like, and he's just trying to keep his family together, it's still like that makes it hard to spend time together, and therefore makes it hard to work on a project together. I
yeah,
have to go to the
like
bathroom real quick. I'll be right back. Y'all just keep talking. I shall
yeah,
return.
yeah.
the
So
another thing I thought I noticed was now this isn't like a definitive thing for him being MAGA, but with all the rest of those things, kind of makes sense. Is Mark's latest film
uh-huh.
stars Mel Gibson,
Oh,
which
yeah,
it's like I like Mel Gibson is still kind of big in Hollywood, but but like I think there's the most filmmakers don't cast him and stuff of and like and when you know a bunch of other things he's relating to a director, and then you hear that he's put Mel Gibson aside, it just yeah that fits.
it's one of those things where like he probably like how there's some guys who are edgy, but they have no political soul,
Hmm.
right? They have no real thing, and like even like Brian Tyler and Mark Nolte, I saw like interviews of them in 2000s. I saw like they're very chill guys, and um, what's funny? There was this episode of a podcast that I can't find anywhere because unfortunately it's been taken down. It was from 2009 or 10. It was when Brian Tyler went on the show um, for that John Campy was on that he was hosting. Ross Cornett was on it. Dennis Zen was on it, and this other guy I forgot his name, but they were on it and they were promoting. This is like Ghostfire Spirit Avengers just started filming. So this must have been 2010, I think. It just started filming. So Brian Tyler was on it as a favor to Campia to talk about the early filming and talking about some other movie news and whatever. So they were just off the talking. And yeah, it was, wait, no, it was 2010, 2011 because Sucker Punch, Zack Snyder's Sucker Punch was going to come out.
Makes sense.
And they were talking about some stuff. And I remember Brian Tyler, they were talking about like, they were talking about different movies that was coming up. And I remember at one point, you know, they were talking about comic book stuff and Frank Miller. And Zach, he turned to the poster that Campy had of Sucker Punch, of Zack Snyder's Sucker Punch, which shows all the women on it. And I remember Brian Tyler was kind of like, unlike some other directors, we don't work by Frank Miller. He looks at the poster, and then he was also kind of like I remember they were also talking about female led films like stuff because obviously Wonder Woman hasn't happened yet, but they were talking about like I remember Brian Tyler was kind of like let women direct badass women, it should be a thing. And I remember
Yeah.
he was kind of like because he was kind of like, I'm a guy, I'm not a woman. I've worked with women. I love women, but like if someone asked me to direct a female-led action film, I would feel kind of weird because I'm like, but I think a woman should direct this, which is a very rare opinion to have in 2010 online. You know what I mean? Especially as a director, he was very much kind of like, no. I remember he even like he and Campy were talking about Kristen Stewart. This is back when people really hated on Kristen Stewart because of Twilight, and then he was like, no, she's a good actress. She's a good actress. She's getting the roles you don't like. That's why you think she's terrible. So like, and he's kind of like, she was great in Runaways, and they were talking about like different stuff, but like, and Mark Neville, like, he's always been like very, no, like Brian Tyler, he's always been very chill. I think the only real, like, not negative opinion, but like the only real like time he ever um bashed down on anything was when someone asked him how he felt about Ghost Rider in Agents of Shield, and then the only thing he says, "Well, I haven't watched it. I haven't watched anything." But he says, "Well, I feel like we were pushing the envelope with Nick on a PG-13 level. I don't know how an ABC show would do it." That's the only thing he said, and even then, he wasn't being that much of a dick about it, and he wasn't being like, "Oh fuck Agents of Shield for having a Ghost Rider." He was just very
Yeah.
much kind of like, I don't know, like we fought hell with Sony just to get some things, which because he was really very honest, but like, no,
Hmm.
I love working with Nick. I love the people we met on Ghost Rider 2. we were going through a lot of different things just to get
Oh,
a few things. Like he was like, it was like just having him kill criminals was an argument to have with Sony.
how with the Ghost Rider, you mentioned I mentioned it the other day when we were talking about how they didn't actually write that. Was there any version of the script that they did write, or were they just only ever or brought into the directors?
I think they wrote some lines of dialogue, some ideas. I know when he was talking about it with some other people, he was like, "We inherited a script from David S. Goyer, which is true, and we changed certain things. Like we changed the setting to Romania, we changed some characters, we changed some ideas. We had to scale down the budget. This is this, and um, most of the story, like in Spirit of Vengeance, was already decided before they
Okay.
joined on. Now, there's another comic movie that they worked on together, which is it's such sad. Like I wish they got to direct it. The Jonah Hex movie.
Mm,
Neville Dean and Taylor wrote that together. It was going to be their
interesting.
film. They wanted to be an R-rated cowboy western. It was their idea to put in magic in the film because Jonah Hex has no supernatural powers, and they put all these different elements together. They wanted to direct it, and then someone at Warner Brothers was like, "We like your script. Here's what happened. It's going to be PG-13." And it's like, oh, "Okay, you're not going to direct it. We want someone else to direct it." And it's like, "Oh, okay." Then when the film, I don't hate the film. I don't hate the Jonah Hex film. The script is way better, and the movie is missing scenes. I think you might like it, but when you watch the Jonah Hex movie, you're like, the editing in this movie is all over the place. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Oh,
And uh, and even Melody and Taylor were like, yeah, it wasn't like we had a vision. Warner Bros. Took it. Like it's strange. Like there's also another thing that's also kind of weirded me out with Neville Dean and Taylor. People love the Crank films. Hollywood had their eyes on them. They wanted them for different things, different
mhm.
properties. I'm like, DC didn't get them for Deathstroke or for Lobo or for a Suicide Squad movie. I'm like, or you know what I mean? I thought even like when Sony was in talks with them, like they could have done something with Craven the Hunter or something with
Oh yeah.
Venom R rated. Or hell, I'm shocked Fox didn't get them for Deadpool.
Oh yeah.
I love I love the Deadpool movies we got, especially with Ryan. But I'm like, just say Deadpool from the directors of Crank. That would have been
Oh
like
yeah.
like they would have been perfect for the tone of Deadpool. That's why I was always
Definitely.
shocked that I felt like they didn't like people in Hollywood loved them, they appreciated their talent, but they didn't match their style with with the IP they had.
Hmm.
And like even when they were campaigning to do Jonah Hex, they wanted to do a swing. They were like, let's do a western. Let's make it a crazy wild western. And with Jonah Hex, in DC kind of like retcon. I'm not retcon. Like basically his character is a Confederate soldier, but later on they kind of changed it to where no, he was a spy for the North. He was spying on the South for the North.
Oh,
He
okay.
got caught, and that's how he got branded. Or like sometimes they really downplay the slavery aspect. Say no, because Jonah Hex loves black people and Native Americans and Asian people in the West. He's not a racist. But so when they got their hands on it, Neville Dean and Taylor was like, let's do the origin of his family getting killed for him betraying the South, and let's do this whole story where the then pre-early CIA of the West hires him, and then let's give him magic. Let's do all this crazy stuff. And there's even like Michael Fassbender is in the movie as a crazy Irish henchman that they created, and he just the only thing he does he just fucking talks in shanties the entire time. Can't understand a lick of word he's saying, and no, no,
Oh
but like
man.
yeah, but like it's like I actually didn't mind the Jonah Hex movie.
Hmm.
But again, it's a very bizarre anomaly in
Yeah.
retrospect to be like I love Megan Fox and I love her even when people get mad, people don't like her acting or whatever. I'm like, even people were kind of like a Western with Megan Fox. What? I know she's popular, but like, you sure she wouldn't fit better in another time period? It's like you know what I mean.
Yeah. With like John Hex, I've never actually watched the movie, but I remember, or I loved what they did with him in Legends of Tomorrow.
But he's
And a
great in
few
Legends of Tomorrow.
appearances as he made in that, and I always thought it was really cool the way they way they did a Western stuff in that at where it like where they were like where the I think this was like said in like an interview, but behind the scenes they're like, yes, in real life the westerns and old west towns, they were very white, but we can do what we want with our show, so we're going to let there be diversity throughout this, and we're gonna let these be this be fun. And I loved that they were like, I screw the actual history of like the of this. Is all people who are like black, people who are Asian, they deserve to be allowed to be in a Western thing and not be relegated to only playing slave roles or like stereotypes of Native Americans.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, and also like I think Legends of Tomorrow had a lot of leeway that most
Mm-hmm.
shows can't really do, depending on the tone. But I think because Legends of Tomorrow was kind of like almost like a fourth wall breaking comedy
Mm-hmm.
in some parts. I'm glad they could do that. And also like people get kind of weird about actors of color appearing in time periods or like appearing favorably in bad time settings. I mean, like we know, like so many people forget there are Asian people in the West that built like trains and all this stuff. They don't want to talk about that. You know what I mean? And then even like old westerns barely talked about that. And then like so many people
Yeah.
just they forget how mixed things was. I mean, how like
Sadly,
if
like old Western films, a lot of them are pretty racist.
yeah,
It's
because
like
of the time thinking,
is
misinformation.
and not just because of like the time that they came out, but because like particularly like John Wayne once on
Yeah, it was a
John
piece of shit.
Wayne
Yeah,
John Wayne said in interviews, the only way I'm willing to have a black person in my cast is if they play a slave, because that's where he believed that was their place in life.
no, John Wayne was a massive piece of shit, and a lot of people hated him. Even crew members
Oh
hated
yeah.
him. Like during World War II, he was a draft dodger. But a lot of the crew members he worked with in movies served in World War II, right? Because they had to, right? And so whenever John Wayne played a character who was a veteran and he was treating the crew like shit, the crew wouldn't have it. They would like, fucker, I actually did shit. I actually fired a gun. You just fire fake guns. It's like, so like, and then like, and also John Wayne massively hated Native Americans. He massively hated black people. Like, he was a massive racist piece of shit. So that's why like whenever like some like okay, I think everyone goes through this when because no one's perfect. But not just that. We're so accustomed. We're so used to actors, directors, and writers being exposed to being terrible people. Like either they admit to it or someone reveals something about them, something comes out about them, right? But like whenever it's like some overly Western lovers talk about like, oh man, I still love John Wayne and whatever. It's a shame I can't really praise him anymore. I'm like, no, hold on. The films he was in, problematic, racist. He fucking play Asian ones. He played Genghis Khan in the movie. You can admire the old school cinema if you want. It's fine. You don't have to defend your opinion. Don't fucking act like we're the problems for being like we don't like him. Yeah, I mean, like that's the problem I have when someone's
Oh yeah.
like, oh, I want to blame the world for them looking at the sins of this man fairly or accurately. I mean, hell, look at
Oh,
I mean, look, like Elvis Presley. Elvis Presley, like that man, like he, singer, racist, groomer. I mean, he was a pedophile technically, and he married a minor he knew since she was like fucking 14, and then he, while Elvis was friends with black people, he stole songs from other black people. He says certain things about Mexicans, and I, while he was abused by his manager and stolen money from him, there's some sympathy to be had, and unfortunately, he is unfortunately part of Hawaiian cinema because the first films filmed in Hawaii he was in as an actor, and it's why he is associated with Hawaii and his music and all those other things. Now, of course, there are people who love his music, love the legend of Elvis. They have no idea about any of the bad things he did, and there's some other people who do, and it's like he did good music. He was a terrible person. It's easy to acknowledge the
yeah.
art over here and say the artist is bad over here. It's easy, I think.
Yeah. Definitely. like I don't like Quentin Tarantino. I think
Yeah.
he's
Oh, he's a
a
piece of shit.
massive piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I'm not and the one film I've seen of his, I'm not a fan of. But I will, but I understand that,
Why
and
people still have
that that he is a good filmmaker, even though I wasn't a big fan of this film, and I don't really have a lot of interest in watching his other films. I know that he does have talent, and I'm not gonna act like he's just like not talented because I hate him.
That's not the no, that's the sad part, but like, that's one of the most frustrating parts is when somebody has all this talent on like in this one area of life, but in the other areas of life, like when it comes to moral stuff, nothing. Like I mean, like that's one of the worst parts. It's like I mean how so many directors, writers, they do terrible shit because they're just so used to people not noticing
Mm.
what they're doing. And then they'll be like, what the fuck? Like, and someone will see it and be like, hey, what are you doing? And like, you know what I mean? And then like, with Quentin Tarantino, uh he's such an old man now. Like that's one of the biggest problems. Like, even like before people found out about how he felt about certain genocide or even about Roman
Roman
Polanski.
Polanski.
No, no, no.
He,
Like even before people found out, there were some people who were like, there's something off with him. And then when someone would just try to not keep in mind,
yeah.
there were some people like the press who overly criticized him when he shouldn't have been on it. But his response to everything, whether it be a genuine question or genuine criticism, was to shut the conversation down, which is not a
Mhm.
good thing in my opinion. Because even like it's almost sad. Like we have directors who or directors and writers who can acknowledge certain mistakes of theirs from their past as in career, and they want to grow as an artist, but they get shit all the time just for being too nice or being too aloof or for admitting they made a mistake. But with Tarantino, you have the opposite. He refuses to acknowledge the mistake he made. I mean, shit, he nearly killed Uma Thurman. Like, I'm not,
He has actually once actually apologized for like his comments about Roman Polanski,
but it
but
felt so late.
still, I even if you apologize for something, doesn't make it okay that he said that.
No, no,
And like,
he had no real critical thinking. Like he lives in such
yeah,
like a
it's
weird movie world in his
I'm
head.
back.
Wait, hey, Kira.
yeah.
Hello. Carry on.
We're currently talking about Quentin Tarantino being a piece of shit.
No, no, we got on the subject through like a bunch of other stuff,
Uh,
and we're just talking
How
about
long
different
have we
parts.
been recording? My question.
we've been recording for a while. Oh yeah.
I think
Well,
Definitely winding this down soon.
yeah, we're
Well,
definitely trying.
I mainly want to ask, like, I don't want to interrupt because like sometimes tangents are like genuinely good. I
Hmm.
mainly want to ask, do we think we've covered everything? Because
Yeah.
The Crank films.
is there anything we want to like say before we like
I
let
do
ourselves spiral
We could
off?
we could do.
one particular thing that I do want to ask Brayden, since you've read the script it's for these
Hmm.
films. Do they say in the script what is in the icebox?
Was in the icebox. No, no, they they refused to answer it. It's one of those things where like they had some ideas about it, um, but they were also kind of like it's because again Jason Statham, he's very underreactive. His genuine confused what the fuck is it? Like he's literally legitimately like he's lost for words. They were like it's funnier if we don't reveal what is inside
Yeah.
the
Oh yeah.
box.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes
Definitely.
what we can imagine, what each person imagines, will be funnier than anything they could do. You know what I mean?
I'm just curious if like the
Yeah,
like
no, no,
in
no.
the script if they would have had something like this like not even if they aren't planning on actually showing the film some makers might put it in the script what it is so that the actor knows what they're supposed to be reacting to.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think
It was
we
very much
mainly
a
talked
what's
about
in the box moment.
Yeah,
yeah
yeah, yeah.
we mainly talked about everything in this film I do I love the in the second film the giant fight in the
Oh, the Godzilla fight. Yes.
yeah that was
Yeah.
it's so
That took
stupid.
me so off guard, but I loved it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah it's
I was like, we're suddenly in an art film.
oh yeah I mean like I cutting off nipples and elbows is just so insane and goofy.
It feels like they went for the things that just don't get cut off and stuff a lot.
Oh yeah, definitely.
They were like, what have we just not seen before?
Yeah.
Which I think is an interesting question to ask.
One thing, and this is not like an actual big deal, but something I've always been curious about this and watching the second film got me thinking about is so you know how at the beginning of the film when we see Eve if she's being a stripper and she's wearing duct tape on her boobs, abs. Like I've always wondered, how do women do that? Wouldn't that be painful to have to take the egg off?
It's because you have a nipple pasty underneath, and you get there's specific like skin safe tape, like how I would tape my glasses up to my face.
Yeah, or sometimes they put like a little lotion thing.
It's not gorilla tape.
It looks like duct tape, particularly in this film. In this film, like I feel like that would be so painful to take off.
No, that's why you have to put a little thing like
you can put a pasty on or some Vaseline in that spot so it only holds to like the less sensitive skin around your boobs. But even then, they usually have skin safe tape to where you pull it off. It might not be super pleasant, but it's not going to hurt you. It's not going to rip your skin off. Whereas if you try to do that with like actual like Gorilla Glue brand duct tape, you'd be fucked. You'd rip your nipple off. That'd be really bad.
That would be awful.
That'd be like an episode of The Pit.
Wait, I can absolutely see that happening. It's like some medical show be like, I work at a shitty a strip club. And they didn't give me anything to put underneath this, so I just
I'm sure that's happened. I'm sure that's not only happened in real life to people, but I'm sure they've done that in some medical show at some point.
Probably.
Or even like there's even like similar stories on the TV show based off real life stories. Sex Sent Me to the ER.
Yeah,
like someone just tries something and then like, oh, I
gotta go to the ER right now. Have you ever seen that show, John?
I've never actually watched it.
It's very funny because the reenactments are ridiculous.
Yeah,
I growing up, I only ever saw it be on the TV guide in the middle of the night, and I was never actually up when it would have been playing, and also I would not have dared watching it watch that. Growing up.
It's not even it's not like explicit. They don't really show anything actually on screen. It's just you see the aftermath and they're like, just it's really absurd.
No,
the reenactments are ridiculous.
No, this is really funny story, and honestly, it's even more fun when you see the real life people and the reenactors, right? And this one guy is like, "Oh yeah, me and my girlfriend went to a rave. Guy had all this paint on, got really high, drank, we had sex, went home, took a shower. All of a sudden, I'm peeing blue." And I realized the paint seeped into my dick, and I'm like, is this bad? I'm like, let's go to the doctor.
That seems bad.
Oh yeah,
because that also means that's in her.
Yeah, so they both had to go to the ER, and they'd be like, why is there so much blue in your crotch? What was I like? Well, you see, doc, there's something wrong.
It's something perhaps not super advisable.
Yeah,
I think the two last things though I want to bring up about the film that'll be funny to mention. One, the old lady at the horse race. I feel like there could have been a world where that was Betty White. She looked a lot like Betty White, and I feel like Betty White would love being in a film like this.
I think they were going for her vibe. You know what I mean? They were going for like a Golden Girls vibe for that character.
So it's that, and then like, so I have found to be really funny. With like the sex scene there is so Eve does not take her top off at all during the sequence, but there is a shot of just naked boobs in the middle of it.
I'm trying to remember if that's someone else.
I don't think it's meant to be somebody else.
That's his imagination.
I guess he just imagined that, which is hilarious. There's also I just I find it funny, like all the scenes of the guy just I'd be so proud of the fact that he caught her panties.
Yeah, he was like, hell yeah. And then at first, and I remember in the first, like when we were first watching it, like the first second, you were like, "Is that a child?" And then he stood up and like was like 6 feet tall, and you were like, "Never mind,"
Which
because like
I
he
think
he had
it
he had
like
a young face, you know what I mean?
which like it's kind of problematic if it were a child, but I think it would have been
It's
funnier,
it's
to be
already
honest.
problematic. It would have been
But I
more
think it would
shocking
have
if
been
yeah.
funnier if a child got that.
But like the thing is like that is kind of like the implication of like there were probably children at these
Yeah,
events, you know what I
probably.
mean? And even in the first movie, all the schoolgirls like saw them have sex in Chinatown the first time. So
Uh-huh.
it's very much like they're still like pointing out like this is still like fucked up in that
Oh yeah.
anyone could see them, you know what I mean? That doesn't like necessarily consent. But then they would focus a lot on like specifically like guys and old women thinking it was hot and like very much people who like have certain stereotypes about them, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so again, it felt like it's raising that satire to its height in
Mhm.
that way, where it's just like the peak of absurdity. It's
Oh yeah.
like it's like every teenage boy's wet dream, and then it gets hit with a reality check the next scene. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With the
Definitely.
people being like, "What the fuck was that?" And I just think that's kind of funny.
Definitely. I think that's really all that I have to say about this film. Film. Is there any last things either of you have to say?
Brayden?
Uh, I love both films a lot. I think the second film is more fun than the first film. It's not, these films are not for everyone.
For
However,
sure.
if you're interested in watching them, don't watch alone. Watch with friends. Even if you don't
Yeah.
like the
Oh
crank
yeah.
films, it's great for a drinking game. It's great for a party
Yeah,
night. Yeah,
like I do think it's like even
Oh
if you
yeah.
don't necessarily like it, just the absurdity of it, it's one of those movies where you can all laugh at it both like unironically or you could be making fun of it and be
yeah,
laughing at it
Mhm.
ironically. And which is kind of intentional because it's so absurd.
yeah. No,
Even if you're not like sold on it, you're still reacting to the absurdity of being like, what the fuck is happening? And that's still fun.
Oh yeah.
Like and that way it's like a roller coaster ride for everyone. Even if you don't really love roller coasters, you're definitely getting your heart pumping if you get on one. You
Oh
know what I
yeah.
mean?
no, and
Definitely.
also like these films, the crank
You shall
films.
react.
Oh no, and also like the Crank films, they never really got like overly negative reviews or anything. They got like
Mhm.
mixed down the line reviews, and even some critics were kind of like,
I
"Hey,
imagine
if
it's just like not for it. Like if you don't like it, you're just like this isn't really for
no,
me.
no," but
But
there
it's
was a
not
lot.
worth your energy to rail against it unless you're 1 million
Hmm.
moms.
No, but there was a lot of people who did like show it a lot of appreciation because around this time, Jason Statham did a few action movies like the Transporter films and some other stuff, and they were like, "This is the most different type of action hero he's played because like he's making fun of
Mhm.
himself
Yeah.
and he's kind of embarrassing himself, but you
Mhm.
don't." But you can tell he's having fun, and you can
Yeah.
tell he's committing to this bit, no matter what
Yeah.
joke they're doing.
Yeah.
That deserves credit.
He doesn't have the ego to make him be like, "Oh, I'm too good to like look silly on screen or look like a dick on screen," which is why it's funny that like he and the like wasn't it the yeah, he and The Rock get a spin-off because he doesn't care about that, he manages to work with like the ego, like especially back before they like buried the hatchet, you know what I mean? Before COVID. There's a lot of ego between Vin Diesel and The Rock of them
That
being
he
like, "Oh, I don't want to look short or stupid or look like I'm losing a fight on screen," kind of like that ego shit
Hmm.
was going on. But Jason has never seemed to really care about that. So it almost like, well, sorry, it almost feels like was able to like in the movie they're all in together. If you watch it, it almost feels like he's able to play the like the guy who's not who like take kind of like takes the fall and like it looks like a bit of an ass and idiot at times. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Because they won't, and that kind of like fills
Makes
a role
sense.
in the movie that's needed that they refused to fill at the time. But then I know that
Yeah.
after like COVID and a few stuff happened, they kind of were like, we're kind of, it's like after like when COVID started, they were like, are we being dumb? Like it kind of like gave a few celebrities a wake up call of like, I'm kind of
Yeah.
shallow, aren't I?
Yeah.
I'm being rather shallow. Is this really important? Is this really Like, is
I
this
want.
really more important than connecting with other people? Am I really letting this petty ego thing hold me back from having a friendship or a creative partnership that I know is would benefit both of us, but I'm just too proud? Like a lot of like it seems like a lot of people involved in Fast and Furious kind of had that happen to them, combined
Mhm.
with the death of one of their friends and then COVID. They were like the what's important kind of hit a lot of people, including these people, and it seemed like they were like once you
Well,
start to think about that, it's one of those things where you're like, now I'm a little bit embarrassed.
I wonder
I'm
if
a little bit embarrassed.
I wonder if that is COVID, like being a big wake up call for people, or might be also like a big part of like why I Harrison Ford is doing a lot more comedy now, and he's like was willing to do a Marvel movie, and all these things like
It,
that. I wonder if like he
you
definitely
combine
had a
that
change of his ego.
Was
if
Harrison?
you combine that with just getting older
Yeah.
and the humility that comes with just getting older, especially I think as a cis man, as I've seen and as I've seen like with people in my life, you get to a point where you start to like realize I don't have as much time left as I always used to have, and is this really how I'm gonna spend it? Is this you're like it's kind of like a post midlife. It's like a 2/3 of the way through crisis, but like not so destructive, where you just start to like kind of self-reflect and you're like, is this really who I want to be? And that's kind of why a lot of people can be like kind of a dick as a dad, but be a great grandpa. That's like a whole thing. Or even they'll be like not a great mom, but be a great grandma. Like and there's a few reasons for that, but a big part of that trend is once people reach an older age, they're like, I have regrets and I don't know if I want to keep living like this. You know
Yeah,
what I
makes
mean?
sense. Yeah,
And I
definitely.
think I think something like COVID and like everything else that's happened, like the economy and like with stuff happening in the industry and everything being so up in air and stuff with politics, people are really confronted so much with like, is what am I actually prioritizing? You know what I
Uh,
mean? Am I prioritizing people or ego? And it seems like a lot of people that like the wind got taken out of the sails of their ego by realizing they are actually quite lonely when they're not surrounded by yes men. And
Makes
the from
sense.
being surrounded by yes men actually is quite hollow. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I think that happened to a lot of people. Like
Yeah.
both celebrities and not over like the past few years. Like both age and just all the state of society, the state of the world, what people like have been through. I think a lot of people are like, it's why a lot it's why a lot of people in our generation aren't really like doing the traditional route more than ever, like once COVID started, because they were like, well, what's the point? I should like now with the economy and like, the state of like health and everything, people are like everything's like they're like my life will be just as bad if not worse if I try to abide by like what's expected of me. So why not just do what I want to do anyways? Which is a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people are doing and finding more success and fulfillment, even if it's not in a financial
Yeah.
way. And you know what I mean? And so I think in that way, both the societal expectations and the ego has like shifted a bit. And because of that, you have both, small and celebrity people who are like, just they have different, like, I know I have different priorities than I used to. And like, it seems like a lot
Yeah.
of these celebrities are like, and so I imagine Harrison Ford, I think Brayden, isn't he like a grandpa now?
yes, and he basically said that one of the reasons why he did Captain America: Brave New World
Hmm.
was he's like, no, Marvel means a lot to my family. They mean a lot to kids in the generation after me, and not just that, like it's been around me, and I know they needed an old man, so I decided to
Like
step in.
it gets to a point where you're kind of just being an asshole if everyone around you is like, "Oh, we're having so much fun doing this. You want to step in for a little bit and join us?" And you're
Mm-hmm.
like, "No, I'm better than all of you." And everyone's like, "Damn, dude, fuck." Like that's you kind of start to feel like a bit of a curmudgeon. Like
Mm-hmm.
I imagine, especially in your old age and your kids are like, well, this is like and a lot of your families like, well, obviously it's not perfect, but we enjoy a lot of it. We like these characters and it's so like so much of society now. It's like, well, at that point you're kind of becoming the man left behind. You know what I mean? And I think some people reach that
Yeah.
age and they're like, am I really just being a stick in the mud just for what? You know what I mean? Am I actually even having fun not doing what I'm so sure I shouldn't do? And so it seems like, he's been having a lot of fun. And also, like, he was actually, like, not one of the, like, from what I've seen of Brave New World, all the clips I've seen, did a pretty good job with that character. Like, seems like, he, did a good job. And it's just, like, it's interesting because a lot of people like ironically, you guys were talking about Tarantino. I don't know exactly what it was about, but like I think I was talking to Brayden the other day. It's so funny. He used to be like, "Oh, I'm only gonna make 10 movies," and then it low key feels like, as evil as he is, even he seems to have shifted his priorities to where, but like in a bad way compared to what we're talking about. He has shifted his priorities to being like fully bought into wanting to like be a propaganda machine. You know what I mean? For Israel and stuff. So he's
Hmm.
like I need to make my life's purpose making art for the evil people.
Yeah.
But still, that's again because of how like, polarized and extreme the world is, people's priorities are shifting for better or for
Yeah.
worse.
Makes sense.
So it doesn't surprise me when you find out that Vin Diesel was like, I should probably stop being such a dick. And The Rock's like, I should probably also stop being such a dick. And I'm not saying that makes either of them like good people necessarily, but it doesn't surprise me when a lot of creative partnerships that had beef bury the hatchet, especially in the state of the industry where it's like, I don't know if we're even gonna get to make a movie in a few years. So
Hmm.
you might as well do it now.
Makes sense.
Were you gonna say something about that, Braden?
Um, no, but with the Crank films, I feel like they're a fun time capsule, and they
Mm-hmm.
inspired other films,
Yeah.
and like it's a fun part of Jason Statham's career because like he's played different action roles. He's even played in different genres, whether it be science fiction and fantasy,
Mm-hmm.
comedy. He's even done.
Fantasy.
He was in. Oh yeah, you probably haven't seen this film. He did
I'm
a
like,
fantasy.
I'm sure that exists, but I want to see it.
No, he did a fantasy video game movie with
What?
Matthew Lillard, John Rhys Davis, Ray Liotta. Was it The Name of the King? It was something like that. Hold on,
Yeah,
let
I
me look
think
up.
in the name of the king was it.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Um, why have I not heard of this?
It was directed by Uwe Boll, one of the most hated directors of all time,
Oh,
You know
because
what's
he he.
funny with that? So
makes sense.
I have not watched that entire franchise. I've watched like I think the either the second or third film. I did not watch the first film. My family found found at a video rental store or like the second or third film and decided to get it. And we watched that even though we hadn't seen the original.
As
No,
you
no.
should.
So with
Fuck it.
in the name of a king, which I think you might like, Kira. It's not okay. Uwe Boll is a German director who makes video game movies,
Mhm.
and most of them get hated on by critics. He did one original movie that got critical acclaim, and he
Okay,
refused to make another original film. And
my
then
question is he hated on because of his art or because he did something bad?
he's
Question.
hated on. He's no, he no, he didn't do anything bad.
Or
He didn't do
both.
anything bad. He didn't do
Okay,
anything.
people are just haters. That's
No, no.
okay.
But
That's easy.
the only real controversial thing about him, and he kept to his word.
I mean,
He
I'm sure
told
he's not
no,
perfect,
no, no,
but
but he told critics, if you guys hate my film enough, get into the ring with me as a boxer. So he's boxed
that's
critics.
really funny.
He's like
That's
he's like
really
so
funny.
he's done actual boxing matches with his critics,
That's
and
so
they
good.
both made money off of it. As a we get
That's
a ref,
hilarious.
we'll get a ref, we'll do this and this, and he makes a lot of money, and he gets a lot of famous actors to be in his films, even
This
if they
is
get
what I want to
um
do to the people who subtweet me.
no. Like I remember he did a Blood Rain movie, and Os Ben
Oh.
Kingsley's in it, and people were
Oh,
like,
I
"How the
might have seen that one.
no no
That sounds familiar.
no you probably have seen it," and some people were like, "How the fuck did you get Ben Kingsley to be in your film?" Like and what's funny is a
I'm
lot of
sure I've seen some of his stuff, just not with Jason Statham.
no yeah yes, but In the Name of the King is the only British fantasy film he's done, and because Jason Statham is British, even though he looks modern, he looks like a modern rugged guy.
Well, I don't know. I think you could travel back in time and meet a million Jason Statham's
Oh
toiling
no,
the
no.
soils of
I
Europe.
always wanted Jason Statham to play a bad guy in a King Arthur movie. Never happened.
Oh yes.
But
Oh my God, Vortigern.
yeah.
Oh my God, that eats.
Or even I thought about Aqualung.
Ooh, that could be good. Sorry, we start nerding out. We're like, hold on. I was gonna ask, who would you cast as Eve and Chev's hypothetical child?
Oh, in a
If you were
we
to
we need
if we were to if that plot were to happen,
Hmm.
who would be your ideal fan cast for that character?
okay, depending on now there's a lot of British actors who can definitely Thomason
Keep
McKenzie
in
would
mind,
be
they wouldn't have to be a British person. He lives in the US. Eve is American. He
true.
was probably raising his kid in America. I doubt they have a British
How
accent.
about
The British accent is not genetic.
No, but like yeah, sometimes a kid could take an accent of one parent over the other parent,
It
depending
would
on the
be
other
really
race.
funny if you were like, no, Kira, it is. It passes down to the blood.
Yo, uh, uh, oh, sorry, thinking of like actors who are young that are like big right now. How about like McKenna Grace?
I can see
I
that.
feel like she could fit well.
I was also even
Well,
thinking about Daphne. I was also thinking about
I
Daphne
was
King,
thinking that this person would probably be
like little kid.
like no, like 18, 19.
Oh no, no, so
If you were to have it to where Eve gets, my idea is she gets pregnant on that in that scene in the second movie where they're fucking on the course, because that's when he
well,
finally comes inside her. Like it's a whole thing. I
yeah.
genuinely think that like if she got pregnant then, think about how long ago that movie was. That was
That
20 years ago, or was it 10 years
well,
ago? It
no,
was
okay. Well,
20 years ago.
the
Yeah,
first
20
movie
years
came.
ago.
The first movie was 2006. Crank
yeah.
2 is 3 months after. Even though it came in 2009, it's also
So
2006, which is fun.
it's canonically 2006, yes, or
Yeah, yeah. So
2007. So that's like what 1920. So
yeah,
that's like,
Which
and you could get someone a little bit older to play younger. So I'm thinking an actor in the range of like
which McKenna
18 to
Grace
25.
is 19.
Yeah, that could work. That's true.
no, no. I was also thinking another actress who's in her early 20s.
I like how we
Um,
all were like they should have a daughter.
no, no, no. But like,
We
no, no.
I didn't even say that,
Well, I
but we
mean,
did all think it.
my main thing was like, I don't actually know
Yo,
that many young male
wait,
actors that
Wait,
I would want in the
what
role.
was that, Kira?
guys, twins,
Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
twins, one boy, one girl.
Oh man.
You could even have them be identical, but one of them is trans. Like you can like, but like regardless, twins. That would genuinely be quite interesting
Oh yeah.
because
That'd
think
be
about
cool.
how the first two movies were about a series of brothers being the
Yeah.
enemies.
Mhm.
Having the new thing be about siblings would reflect that interestingly.
That could be interesting. Yeah.
Mm.
Me pitching this as if it's gonna happen, but I'm like, listen, this is what I would do.
Oh no,
Them have
Oh, yeah.
twins.
it would be fun though. I do think the Crank IP will be revisited on by either Jason Statham or someone else, or even if Lionsgate. If not, I don't think anyone would get too mad if they did not a remake or just another version
Just yeah.
Mhm.
with something else. But
You know
it's
what?
so as long as the style was fun.
Mhm. You know what would be a fun crossover? Crank and Machete.
Oh yeah,
Probably.
That would be good.
I know his thing. I like the Machete films.
Crank and Spy Kids in the same universe.
Oh no. I like the Machete films. I always felt the Crank films got the Grindhouse feel better. Does that make sense? Like just in terms
I
of
mean,
like
I can imagine that.
if you think about it though, the technology level is
yeah,
consistent through Spy Kids to Crank.
yeah, yeah,
Think about that. That type of shit they're doing in Crank 2 is absolutely like
yeah.
the
Oh yeah,
adult
no, for
version
sure.
of Spy Kids.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially with the fact that
Definitely.
especially with the fact that the third brother, like the villain of Crank 2, you can
Mhm.
argue is like a Machete villain and a James Bond
Yeah.
villain. He lives on an island with a mansion and has like literally technology and all this weird shit. Like
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. I last words I was like I love the loved watching these films and like I I really want more unhinged and horny as hell movies with a ton of nudity in them and I like and like this like seeing this film like that actually it reminded me a lot of like I how I'm like actually like writing or working on writing a film of like that I've told Brayden a lot about it. It is absolutely gonna be unhinged and horny as hell, and and this like felt like it gave me like a bit of a boost to be like yeah, this could absolutely work.
Yeah, what I need in like more like horny stuff these days is for like as we were kind of talking about earlier, for the horniness to be like equal opportunity. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
Oh yeah.
to feel less like I guess exploitative. I like or like like derogatory in some ways. I need horniness to be like framed in multiple different like ways. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
from women's perspective, from men's perspective, from gay people's perspective, from trans people's perspectives, from like old people's perspectives. Give me more horny old people. That's one of my favorite things where they're not like creeps. They're just really excited to fuck their wives or and their husbands. But
Mm-hmm.
like horny old married couples that are
I can
so ready to
understand that.
fuck. That is one of my favorite tropes. I think that's quite fun. You know what I mean? Like when you go against the like societal idea that you stop being sexy or having sex or having a sex drive when you get older, you know, and
yeah.
especially in the idea of like when you get married. I love when we subvert that
I
because I think that's
the
wrong and toxic. You know what I mean?
I think the main thing though that I want with on for any film that I make like is I
Mm.
want it to feel sex positive. If I
Yeah. Yeah, there's a way to do that.
I don't want it to treat eat sex and nudity as a bad thing. I think while I also want it to be a sign where it's like where it isn't like super misogynistic or side.
I like
I think there's
movies where
really cool ways
characters
to
are like half nude, but not in a sexy way sometimes, where they're just like in a way where it's like not because of any sexual reason. Like if someone's just
Mhm.
like in the process of like getting ready in their room on their own and they're just kind of pulling all their clothes on, and the camera isn't really framing it like it's a strip show. It's framing it like, oh, this person's like haphazardly getting ready to go to work. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like you see a tit pop out of a bra by accident, and it's like, yeah, that's a boob, but it's like it's not in a sexualized gaze way.
Mhm.
And it's like you
Mhm.
could think, obviously, the audience can still be like, oh yeah, yeah, boob, but there's a difference between that and how it's being portrayed. You know what I mean? Like the
Yeah.
audience
Yeah.
can feel whatever they
I think
want, but
Naturalness. Oh yeah.
I
how does
think
it being projected?
like I'm my feelings is like I want I'm very okay with sexualizing things Ace because sex is a very
Yeah.
natural thing,
Mm.
but making sure it's respectful and also like the most important thing obviously is like that if I was to ever make anything like this that the actors feel comfortable and like
Obviously,
that
but
and
I also
that's like
think there's a degree of that's also you need earnestness because am I
mhm.
wrong? Is it just me, or has one of the things about Sam Levinson's work always felt like he's
It's
trying to
just
be horny, but he's not even actually horny? Does that make sense?
no, no,
There's
yeah.
it's not actually
It's
nothing.
it's
I
It
get
it's
what you're
about
feels
saying.
shock value.
so. It also even the stuff that's supposed to be sexy, it's like boring in
Mhm.
a weird way. Even if it's like
Like
explicit, it's not, it doesn't feel compelling. I don't feel invested. Does that make sense?
mhm.
No,
I feel like
there's a
I'm
moment
I
detached.
there's a moment where the characters of his story get interrupted by the
Mhm,
moments he shoehorns some stuff,
mhm.
and it feels like it's two different people. Like
Yeah.
say what you about the nudity in season one of Euphoria, it felt in character. Every
No,
moment after
there
season
were,
one
yeah,
fell off.
there are intimate scenes where they're like half naked or like together. They're not necessarily even sex scenes with Rue and Jules in season one that I feel a lot more compelled by. I feel like I'm
yeah.
in with them in that moment and I'm feeling the intimacy. Whereas in the rest of it, it feels like they're, despite how technically physically intimate it is, there's no
Mhm.
actual intimacy and it feels like we
Yeah.
as the audience are so disconnected
There's
and like
there's
it
I
becomes more and more of like a facade of itself and everything he does, and it just becomes to the point where it's not even shocking anymore because it's so cliche of him that when I find out that he like had some he did some like the crazy shit he did in Euphoria before, I'm not even surprised anymore. I'm not shocked. I'm not
mhm.
even really upset, and I'm also not impressed. I'm
it's this
bored. I'm like,
it
yeah,
no
whatever,
no
we get
it's
it.
It
no it's even like with that TV show he did that everyone fucking hated. The Idol, which had The
Yeah,
Weeknd and
yeah.
Lily Rose Depp.
No one
The
was
the,
actually
the
impressed.
No, no, no. But not just that. The sexual stuff in it was so dry
Weird.
and awkward, and even the actors couldn't
Yeah,
sell it.
that
it
And
makes me
that's a
think, does this guy know how to be sexy at
like
all?
that
Like,
is a big thing. I like a bit like I want if I'm gonna have sexy scenes out and have nudity, I want them to be fun. I want you to be able to enjoy
yeah,
them.
something
And like and I
you
feel
need to
like
be feel grounded.
I feel like that's a problem not just with Sam Levinson, but like with a lot of sexual things and nudity these days. They mainly want to only put them in very serious, very depressing things where it's
Or
like
like
you
really
can't
like
really enjoy
serious,
this.
or
Yeah,
like really
really serious. And
or
like
serious perfect shots where everything looks perfect all the time and it's like an
I want
art show the whole
like
time. Like the Starfleet Academy sex scene between like Caleb and Tarima, like it works narratively, but it was like really drawn out and it was so visually boring to me.
yeah,
I was like, I'm bored. I don't feel
well,
connected to their intimacy right now. I felt more connected to their intimacy once they actually like started fighting. That
yeah,
made me feel more
mhm.
like I was actually like watching an actual two characters interacting and not just two dolls being smashed together in a pretty way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
It's too perfect.
I
It's too manicured. Where's the bump? Where's bumping people's heads by accident? Where's the giggles because you accidentally like almost slipped off the bed? Like, give me some of that.
like I want like if for anything I make, I want it to feel like like you're telling the audience, yes, you can enjoy this. This is sex is a very natural thing, and attraction is a very natural thing. You can enjoy this. And like I feel like there's just so much media now where they're like, if we're gonna put anything sexual or nudity wise in, you're not supposed to enjoy this.
What's
Or
that
this,
one?
and
What's that one headline that's honestly a banger that gets used a lot in like quotes now, where it's like everybody's naked but nobody's having sex, or everybody's naked in the movies but nobody's horny anymore, where it's like
Yeah, yeah.
everything's but where the ideal was like we're so focused on the visuals, nobody actually no
People,
one feels like they're actually invested in
yeah,
these
like
scenes sexually
people,
or
pe
emotionally
not
anymore.
people are more obsessed with the bodies than actually the people having fun or the characters having fun.
Then
Like,
then the actual intimacy or connection. So it's like
yeah,
it feels hollow.
yeah.
and like I'll say that
Let me look it up.
say something like that, and people will be like, oh, you should just watch porn. I'm like, you you can I want something that has the sexuality and is and nudity, but to actually have good writing. Like
Mm.
a sign that's fun. It has good writing. It's not it doesn't have to. These things don't have to only exist in porn.
Mm. I think Kira said she has to go to the bathroom, but we can
Yeah.
keep talking.
Oh
No, it's
yeah.
just complicated. It also
Yeah. I know.
depends
Totally.
on.
Oh, I see. There's multiple. There's like this is like a running. There's like a multiple people like using this like way of talking to like respond to each other. Where it starts out like everyone's in love but nobody's horny, and then it's like everyone's horny but no one's having sex, and then it's like everyone's having sex but nobody's like in love, and I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah.
I mean, they're not wrong, but I'm like, whoa.
Well, I mean, also
Uh,
like so many
It's kind
so
of a
many
cycle.
things. No, no, but like, but so many things. It varies by society, whether it be social media or even like there's some directors and or writers or actors who are like, no, I'm ready to do some stuff, but it's a case by case basis. I mean, I
mhm.
remember even
And as
Florence
I
we
Pugh.
talked
think
about earlier, sometimes it's just hard with all the paperwork. What,
No, no,
Brayden?
but Florence Pugh, she's been doing sex scenes and nudity since like since the early like since the mid 2010s, and of course somebody asked her. Has she like someone asked her about the importance of intimacy coordinators? And she had the best response that was praised by everyone. She was like, it's case by case. Some coordinators were perfect and they talked to me directly and my
Yeah,
co-star, everything was good. And there were some other coordinators who were so awkward. And there were some other coordinators who trusted me and my co-star so much, didn't get involved, everything went okay. Like there's a process. It's a
it's
case by
also
case.
like the idea you like you should have like hypothetically you should have an intimacy coordinator,
Yeah,
yes.
you should, yeah, always.
But the thing is, if you stop there, you don't acknowledge intimacy coordinators are also people, and they're also rather
Yeah.
a new thing to become this established, and they're
Mhm,
not always actually going to do a good job. Like it's like,
mhm.
oh, it's like, yeah, you should go to the doctor, but you also shouldn't be surprised if you need to go to a different doctor because that one sucks because they're people. You know what I mean? Like, if you just stop it, like, oh, you should go to the doctor, it's like then people don't acknowledge. So like sometimes they have bad experiences, and that makes
Oh
them
yeah,
have a harder time trusting the next doctor. And I imagine
makes
that's a
sense.
problem with like if you have a bad experience with an intimacy coordinator, you're like, I don't know if I trust another random person to come in.
Or
Like,
if a producer has not an allegation, but like they
mhm,
had issues on
yeah.
one level of production with the sex scene, and that producer
Mhm.
goes, "Okay, we're never gonna do a sex scene again because not because of anything bad, but because I just don't want to deal with the headache. I don't
Yeah,
want to
it's
make
just
anyone
not.
uncomfortable."
It's and this is also part of like capitalism because on a monetary like level, like it's like sometimes things literally aren't worth it anymore.
Mhm.
Because it's so not just the cost of filming it, the cost of hiring extra people to deal with it, the cost of um paying your actors for more time, because we just talked about how you have to demand more work from them now and more paperwork, and the cost of that paperwork, which is not nothing,
Mhm.
of like sending that paperwork back and forth, spending the time of having people fill it out. You're paying those people to you're paying people to send paperwork back and forth.
Yeah.
That is the bureaucracy of capitalism and society at this point, where sometimes people are like, that's not worth it anymore. And I think that's an issue.
Yeah. We've gone on for definitely long enough talking about this film and a bunch of other things that are somewhat related. Thank you to both of you for coming on for this. As I really appreciate it. I love getting to talk with you guys as on the podcast. And like as always, anytime you want to come back, I'm absolutely down to have you.
That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it has been fun. And like we also we like what's we actually did keep like the chunks where we were talking about mainly
They're all connected, yeah.
crash like
To
yeah,
Crank.
very like
Oh, yeah.
consistent, and then like when you go through editing there's other parts you can like it'll be easy to identify where we start talking about a tangent and be like, okay, cutting this out before we go back to Crash. You know what I mean? I mean Crank.
Oh.
Crash and
Yeah.
Crank are now getting mixed up in my head.
But thank you everyone for listening. If you like this game analysis, please give a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify. I'd love to hear your thoughts on these films, so please let me know. If you like to listen to more from me, please subscribe. Many more game analysis joining coming. So keep on the lookout. This again is your host, Smash Cherry John, signing off.